Well, good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on this 11th day of July. That's right. It's 7-Eleven, which means that you can get a free Slurpee.
Ooh,
That's right.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, we should probably have led with that. I mean, is there really anything better that would feel good on a day like today than to go get a free Slurpee? I mean,
That would be refreshing. Yeah.
I'm telling you, that would be absolutely refreshing. So let's start over. You can get a free Slurpee today. It's 7-Eleven Day. This just in. Actually, I think it's been in all day long. I don't know. 7-Eleven, when I grew up in Texas, that's all you had.
Yeah.
7-Elevens, we used to call them. You would say, hey, I'm going down to the 7-Eleven. You wouldn't. You'd say, I'm fixing to go to the 7-Eleven.
There you go.
Do you need anything? And they'd say, yeah, Mom would say, get me a lotto ticket. No, she wouldn't. She bought a lot of lotto tickets at the 7-Eleven down the corner. Down the corner. All right, well, what are we going to talk about today? Think tank leader who claims to have been given FBI info on Hunter Biden has now been charged by the Justice Department. I mean, there's so many different tentacles to this octopus. It's well beyond an octopus. It's a decapus. I don't know when you get in that 10 decapus.
That would be. I don't think I've ever heard that before, but yes.
I don't know, but I mean, there's a lot of different arms and tentacles to this particular octopi, and we'll try to see if we can understand what's going on here. This from thehill.com. A think tank leader who has repeatedly accused President Biden and his family of corruption has been charged with acting as an unregistered agent of China. Manhattan prosecutors announced on Monday evening. That was last night, late. Guy's name, Gal Luft, co-director of the Maryland-based Institute for the Analysis of Global Security, is accused of recruiting and paying an unnamed former high-ranking U.S. government official on behalf of principals based in China. In 2016, without registering as a foreign agent, which is legally required. The former high-ranking official was an advisor to Donald Trump, who was the president-elect at the time, and was allegedly paid to publicly support certain policies pertaining to China, according to a 58-page report and an 8-count indictment unsealed Monday. Manhattan prosecutors also alleged Luft attempted to broker illicit arms deals to sell weapons to countries including Libya, the United Arab Emirates, and Kenya without having a license to do so, as is legally required in the United States. And Luft is accused of violating Iran sanctions by setting up meetings between Iranian officials and a Chinese energy company to discuss oil deals. When interviewed by U.S. law enforcement, Luft allegedly made false statements regarding his role brokering those deals. But this really all comes back to, in some way, which is, I'm having a hard time following this one. I'll be honest with you, the thread is complex. But it all comes back to having something to do about the Hunter Biden investigation. And he apparently, many people believe, has some answers about all of this. Here is Kentucky Congressman, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Mr. Comer of Kentucky, talking about what he knows about this guy, Gal Luft.
Here's what I know about Gal Luft. He was getting paid, like the Bidens, from CEFC. We want to speak with everyone that we can find who was also on the payroll of CEFC, like the Bidens. And anyone who says we shouldn't take Gal Luft's allegations seriously discounts the fact that the Bidens wanted to share office space with CEFC, even going so far as to saying that Hunter wanted to make an extra set of keys for both Joe Biden, Jill Biden, and the president's brother, Jim Biden. So this company that Gal Luft was working for, who he was getting paid for, is the same company that the Bidens not only were getting paid for, they were also sharing office space with. So we definitely want to hear more about these allegations, and we want to see the notes from the FBI meeting. They sent 6 FBI agents, according to Gal Luft, to Brussels to interview him. I mean, obviously, they were concerned about something he had to say. There's some level of credibility there. So there are a lot of questions here, and it's just amazing the Department of Justice moves so quickly against some people. But then, Laura, the ultimate irony is one of the charges they levied against him was not being a registered foreign agent, which is the main thing that we've said the Bidens were all along, unregistered foreign agents.
Pretty astonishing stuff there from James Comer. In a video first published by the New York Post, Luft made bribery allegations against the Biden family and called himself patient zero of the Biden family investigation. He claims in the video he was arrested to prevent him from testifying before the House Oversight Committee on shady Biden family business dealings. He also claims he shared his allegations with FBI and DOJ officials during a March 2019 meeting, which he said they covered up. Representative James Comer, as you just heard, called Luft a very credible witness on Biden family corruption. In a tweet last week, Comer and other Republicans have heralded Luft as a whistleblower in the Hunter Biden laptop probe. But, you know, the Justice Department's going after him, and Luft faces up to 100 years in prison if convicted on all 8 counts, though such a sentence seems unlikely. This all according to thehill.com. All right, so there is this whole new development there. A guy that the Republicans investigating Hunter Biden's many enterprises and whether or not there was a bribery scheme involving the then vice president, now president of the United States, is ongoing. They want to talk to this guy, or this guy named Gal, and wants to have a conversation. But now it seems that the Justice Department has intervened themselves and placed them between Gal, Luft, and the investigation that's happening on Capitol Hill. I mean, the problem with this story is that it is so complex and it has so many different, facets to this diamond that it's hard to keep up with all of it. I'm going to be honest with you. It's hard to keep up with every jot and tittle. And so therefore, when a story becomes complex, you know what most people do? They check out. Yeah, I don't understand this. This is too complex to me. You have to have something that's very simple. Okay, was there a this for that? That's what you got to keep looking at. And there are so many different, as I say, facets to this story that it's just, honestly, it's almost mind-boggling. And I can understand why some of the folks who were apparently, according to the allegations, doing business with the Biden family said, "Hey, don't worry, we're gonna make this thing so complex nobody will ever figure it out." Certainly feels like that is happening. On another sort of related story, Jim Jordan says that Congress is going to press ahead and press the FBI head, Director Wray of the FBI, on transparency regarding the Biden documents. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, Republican Ohio, says that during FBI Director Christopher Wray's upcoming testimony, that's tomorrow, boy, that's going to be a barn burner, the committee plans to press him on a document he kept from Congress and the American people. They were talking about that much discussed 1023 form that he just keeps dragging his feet on and won't let the full Congress see. More importantly, he won't see the American people see the form from a confidential source that talks about a scheme that saw foreign nationals paying the Bidens. And supposedly, according to this source, Joe Biden is going to do certain policy things in exchange for the money. So, we should be able to get that form, and we're going to continue to press on that. So that will be a question that will be asked over and over and over tomorrow as Christopher Wray, director of the FBI, makes an appearance on Capitol Hill. And boy, I'm telling you, people, the Republicans in the House have been waiting for a while on this one. So that's going to happen tomorrow, and it is related to this. Will we get more information on that? What happened to our good friend over in the Senate, Chuck Grassley? He is now probing an element of this thing that involves the prosecutor in Delaware, Weiss, and the apparent blockades that they kept coming up against when he wanted to take cases and file them in other jurisdictions and was told by the Justice Department that he could not. the Biden investigation was somehow stymied and obstructed. The fix was in, don't let Weiss do anything that will hurt the President of the United States. Well, now Grassley is going after the deputy of this guy, Weiss. And here's that story from the Federalist. Delaware Assistant U.S. Attorney, was briefed in October of 2020 that a confidential human source had reported Hunter and Joe Biden each received $5 million in bribe. Senator Chuck Grassley revealed Sunday in a letter to Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss. A source familiar with that briefing has now confirmed to the Federalist that the Pittsburgh office told the Delaware office that the CHS's reporting appeared credible and merited further investigation. That added detail increases the significance of Grassley's Sunday letter and his question to Weiss about whether his deputy thwarted the investigation from Grassley's letter. On October 23rd, 2020, Justice Department and FBI special agents from the Pittsburgh field office briefed Assistant U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf, one of your top prosecutors, and FBI special agents from the Baltimore field office with respect to the contents of that 1023 document, alleging a criminal bribery scheme involving then Vice President Biden and Hunter Biden. What steps have the Justice Department and FBI taken to investigate those allegations? Really core to all of this, don't you think? The Iowa senator asked before noting his concerns about Wolf's involvement. Grassley then highlighted the numerous ways that Wolf appeared to have obstructed the investigation into Hunter Biden's potentially criminal business activities. IRS whistleblowers have affirmed that Assistant U.S. Attorney Wolf prevented investigations from seeking information about Joe Biden's involvement in Hunter Biden's criminal business arrangements. Grassley said, adding that he also frustrated investigative efforts by the U.S. to question Hunter Biden's business partner, Rob Walker, about Joe Biden. There's an awful lot of smoke here. There is an awful lot of smoke here. An awful lot of things that point to a concerted and organized, highly organized effort to keep the story from leaking out, despite the best efforts. And it's only because we have a House committee with the subpoena power that we are now starting to get some headway on all this. Republicans have been dying to investigate this matter for years now, but they've been unable to do so because they didn't have the ability to issue subpoenas. They didn't have the ability to go out and start digging around. Listen, I'm telling you, James Comer is on to something here, but the deeper you go, the more complex and Byzantine it appears. It is outrageously complicated, and it appears every time you turn a corner on this thing, there's another way that it looks like the Democrats in charge of the Department of Justice and the FBI were doing everything they could do not to investigate a possible bribery of a president of the United States, but to also thwart any investigation into getting to the truth. They cared not for the truth. They cared only about protecting Joe Biden. And we are going to get more on this tomorrow, I can assure you, as Director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, takes the seat before the House Judiciary Committee and Jim Jordan. That'll be a barn burner you do not want to miss. Bring your popcorn. 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you, hey, it'll be ready at 4, and you get there at 4, and yeah, it's not ready. People are really tired of that kind of stuff. If you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair shops, I want to suggest you try the folks over at Eurofix. Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable, and Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really supposed to be ready, so you don't have to go around and wait and tap your toe. All European cars, they work on all European cars with quality that beats the dealer without dealer pricing. And that's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of a dealership's overhead, and that is a lot of money. I mean, why would you want to pay for that? At Eurofix, reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Make sure you call ahead as loaner cars are very popular. If you're tired of unreliable repair shops, come to where it's reliable. Eurofix. Family-owned, 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Floods in Vermont wreaking havoc. Mysterious KKK flyers up in Murray County and a big snake on the loose in California. Those stories and more coming up 30 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, you guys may find this a little interesting. The White House cocaine investigation continues to ongoing. They found the powder in the West Wing on July 2nd. And the House Oversight Committee is in talks for a briefing on Secret Service investigation. And the FBI and Secret Service folks are now saying that the investigation is open and active. There's no definitive time frame as to when it could conclude. Everything that they touch, how difficult is this? Compare, if you would, and contrast what the Lebanon Police Department recently did. Have you seen this story? There's not much on it. Here, I'm going to read you everything I know. This comes from Fox 17. A Lebanon barbershop is busted for dealing drugs on High Street. On High Street.
Coincidence, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, you can't pass that one up. The Lebanon Police Department has been investigating the Old Town barbershop for months. They say cocaine and methamphetamines were being sold from the business. Charges are pending against the owner. And that's, literally all that I've been able to dig up on the story. But it's happening down in Lebanon on High Street. There's a barbershop, and apparently the suggestion is that they were dealing, here's the headline. Barbershop in Lebanon busted for giving more than buzz cuts.
Someone had a little too much fun with that one.
Somebody said, well, it's a barber shop, and what kind of drug references can we draw? Well, okay. One way or the other, it is sort of fascinating that you got, it's a basic police investigation. I mean, this is police department investigative detective work 101.
Mm-hmm.
You have a bag, you have fingerprints, you have the worldwide resources of any law enforcement agency in the country to do the investigation, to do the analysis, and to come forward with it. And there's, we're not real sure when we're going to find out who this cocaine belonged to or what we're going to be able to resolve. And, the only thing we want to tell you is we're pretty sure it's not Biden. It's not Hunter Biden's. It's not his at all. Although, I mean, he wasn't around apparently when this was discovered. He was away with a family. But one wonders, how this cocaine made its way to a sensitive area not very far from the Situation Room. A lot of people come through that west wing door that leads to a parking lot. The vice president's car is generally parked there. And I'm telling you, it's there's a lot of activity, but all of the activity is from people who, work for the administration or are there to support the administration. And generally, not that's not always true, but generally, this is a place where visiting celebrities do not come through this door. Sometimes they do, but it's not the go-to place. Every day when I went into the White House, I went through the Northwest Gate, and I had a little pass, and they went through everything that I had. You wouldn't dream. Of course, I don't do that anyway, but you wouldn't dream of taking drugs through that checkpoint. But apparently somebody, so what that says to me is it's not somebody who went through a very thorough search on the way in the building. And what does that tell you? Pretty high level, right? Somebody who is, not a grunt, somebody who, they maybe, cabinet level, it's possible. You just breeze through, you flash your thing, you go, right? You don't have to stop and go through all of that if you're on the team. But you do have to leave certain things outside. Well, I mean, who in their right mind, of course, if you're on cocaine, you're probably not on your right mind, but who in their right mind would leave a little baggie of cocaine there to be found? It seems to me that this is somebody who did not get the very thorough screening that you would get if you were anybody else but somebody pretty high ranking at the White House or in the Biden administration. That's just my thought on it. But if the Secret Service needs any help, I can tell you right now, you need to check in with the Lebanon Police Department. The Lebanon Police Department will give you all of the details of how to conduct such an investigation. And they can probably get to the bottom of it. You could probably get to the bottom of it in a day or two if you just had the right kind of guidance. So my suggestion, Secret Service, give a call to the Lebanon Police Department. And I want more information about this barber shop on High Street where there was a buzz and buzz cuts. That's what you get a buzz cut, or you could just get a buzz, allegedly.
Or you could get both.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Allegedly,
correct,
according to police. 3:30 now on Super Talk 99.7.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 88 degrees and a couple of hot days here pretty much all this week around the same high, low 90s. Chance of storms starting tomorrow night. Full weather and traffic report coming up in 5 minutes. Hundreds of water rescues are taking place across Vermont as floodwaters damage roadways and structures. Vermont's rail line has been suspended due to washed out tracks in some areas, and a dam near the capital of Montpelier is closed to overflowing. Officials say that more rain could be on the way soon. Karen Travers has the latest from the Biden administration and its response.
The White House says President Biden spoke by phone individually with Vermont Governor Phil Scott, Senator Bernie Sanders, and FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell Tuesday evening while traveling overseas at the NATO summit. The president conveyed his commitment to deliver the federal assistance needed to help respond to severe flooding across Vermont. On Monday night, the president approved an emergency declaration for Vermont, and the White House says it's been coordinating with state and local officials, as well as monitoring the impacts of the flooding. FEMA and other federal personnel have also been mobilized and are working closely with state and local agencies.
Closer to Nashville in Murray County, pastors in Columbia plan to hold a press conference tomorrow to address KKK flyers allegedly found on 3 church marquees. Channel 4 says a press release claims the recruitment flyer contained a warning to, quote, race traitors, mixed breeds, communists, homosexuals, and all other walks of godless degeneracy, end quote. In California, a massive python is on the loose in a Southern California neighborhood. Alex Stone reports from L.A.
Its name is Big Mama, and it got out of its backyard cage in the Chatsworth neighborhood of L.A. Now people living in the area are nervous.
We're just fearful for our lives, actually.
But while humans probably don't have to worry about their safety, Jeffrey Mantagna, owner of a reptile shop, says small animals could fall victim to Big Mama as she slithers around.
Once they get really big, they can eat things like rabbits, they can eat things like pigs, birds.
The snake's owner says he's worried neighbors will overreact and hurt Big Mama if they see her. The black and yellow 15-foot-long snake is somewhere in the area.
And that is the latest news. Weather and traffic are next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
So how you faring in this rough and tumble market? The experts at Beacon Capital Management understand it can be just a little bit scary, but here's the thing. Beacon Capital Management has a plan to assess where you are and then help you make any mid-course corrections that might be needed. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have peace of mind that you're on the right path? Beacon can provide you that reassurance. Now, it starts with a simple phone call, and here's the number, 615-488-9303. That's 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon will take it from there. They'll get some information from you and then come back to you with some suggestions. You don't have anything to lose except for all the worry. Get started today by calling 615-488-9303. At the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path, that all the T's have been crossed and all the I's have been dotted. Again, that number, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away. Learn more at askbeaconnow.com. It's 38 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy on this Tuesday. As I mentioned, it is 7-Eleven Day, which means that somehow, I don't know if you go to, well, I got a story. Hang on. I'll just find out. Right. There it is. You got to be sure this one made the cut. 7-Eleven is your free Slurpee Day. How to get your ice cold treat on and other 7-Eleven deals. Apparently you show up at a participating 7-Eleven, Stripes, or Speedway location. I didn't know they're apparently all owned by the same company. And ask for a free small Slurpees while the supplies last. Another benefit to being a loyal member is a bunch of $1 food. Yeah, there's nothing better. I mean, we've all done it. You know, we're not proud of it.
Speak for yourself, Mr.
Everybody,
Wilson.
there have been people at times who've gotten a Slurpee and a $1 hot dog, and we're happy to have it. But apparently that's it. So
I might have to swing by one today. We're lucky because prior to like a year or so ago, we didn't have 7-Elevens here in this neck of the woods, and they've just started kind of moving in. We've got several that are being built right now, as a matter of fact.
I mean, you got there's every little area of the country has their own sort of big convenience store. Here it's what are the big ones here?
Twice Daily is probably the biggest one.
Twice Daily.
Yeah, and then if you go to up in the neck of the woods where I lived in the Washington D.C. area, there's the ever popular Wawa.
Yeah, there's a lot of those down in Florida too.
Gosh, you don't want to miss a Wawa if you. And then there was another one called Highs, which was mostly a dairy company that took it and turned it in convenience stores. Pretty smart way to sell milk, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, everybody's got theirs. But in Texas growing up, it was all 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven.
Just one word, right? 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven, one word. I'll tell you a secret. I'll tell you, I was such a bad child. I did things that I've never confessed to my parents.
Oh.
But one of them is that they gave me a couple bucks every day for a school lunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was a growing kid, and I ate a lot of times. I ate in the cafeteria. There are a lot of days where I just didn't feel like the cafeteria was calling to me, but the 7-Eleven was, and it was only over about 10 blocks away. So I would get on my bike and I'd go to the 7-Eleven.
Wow.
And I somehow get stopped at the candy counter and wouldn't get much further than that. And I would come back, and nobody ever asked me, "Hey, where were you?" Nobody ever knew that I left campus.
So you would just leave, like during your lunch period.
During the lunch hour, I just go get on my bike and drive over there, and like nobody ever asked me. To this day, my mom and dad, my mom and dad are now passed, but they never knew a thing about it.
Wow.
And I would come back, and I'm telling you, in the afternoons, there'd be a lot of sugar coursing through the veins. It is about all I could do to stay in my chair. And for some reason, they thought I had ADHD. I don't know. I don't know. Well, anyway, enough of these stories from the old days. A Chicago suburb has started paying reparations. This is from hotair.com. Most of the talk you've heard about reparations has come from California, where there are grandiose plans for massive reparation payments to black residents have recently begun disappearing in the harsh winds of reality. Not so in the Chicago suburb of Evanston, Illinois, where Northwestern University is located. They aren't just talking about reparations. They actually have started to pay them out. And they talk about this. Apparently, the Wall Street Journal takes a look at this week at one of the early beneficiaries of the program. To say the least, it's complicated, and nobody's retiring after getting paid either. Now 88 years old, they got Lewis Weather still remembers one of his first experiences with racial prejudice in the Chicago suburb along Lake Michigan home of Northwestern University. Now 88 years old, the retired postal worker and Korean War vet is among the initial beneficiaries of a city program, the first of its kind in the U.S. that pays black Evanston residents reparations for discrimination and a lack of access to housing. It is also working on programs to address gaps in education and economic development. Let's see. In 2019, the city of about 75,000 just north of Chicago committed to spend $10 million over 10 years on local reparations. Dozens of other municipalities across the U.S. have taken steps toward reparations as well. Wow. The payment for each 140 black residents who received reparation payments, the payments for each was $25,000. Okay. It's money. It's not generally what you would call life-changing money, but apparently, $25,000. I don't know, but that is happening in the middle of all of this, and it'll be interesting. Let's see how this all works out. Let's go back a year and check in Mr. Weathers and find out how he benefited from that $25,000. I just think that it is happening. It is a conversation that widely gets thrown to the side when you realize the scope and the magnitude of what it would take to do such a thing, even if you wanted to. And I'm not sure, of course, it's the best thing. I'm just saying that even if you as a community decide you want to do it, you got to be ready to spend a ton of money. And then how far does that go? And how complex does that become? And how do you decide who is due that money and who is not due that money? It sounds like to me that, I think it's a thing that comes up every once in a while, but not really going to gain any traction. Ring cameras are apparently racist. In more woke news, Wired magazine wants you to know that Ring cameras are racist, so you shouldn't buy them. A few days after a Ring camera catches several teens in camera confessing to shooting and killing a Lyft driver in Washington, D.C., Wire said they don't recommend Ring cameras because they let you easily send video to the police. Well, that's sort of the whole point of a security camera system. Oh, my God. I don't know what to tell you about that. Their whole real concern about it includes the way that you can apparently take these videos and get them to police so easily. I don't know. I have had Ring cameras. I have another kind of another kind of security camera, many of them actually around my house. And I just think they're the greatest thing ever. I mean, there's a lot of benefit to having them, not only from a security standpoint. Something happens, you go back and review the tape, right? Or there's no such thing as tape anymore, but review the video, and you get some indication of what may or may not have happened. But I also like it when I travel, so I can see what's going on back at the home, what's going back at the home fort.
So what's the racist part about it?
Apparently, the people at Wired magazine say that because of this, they're saying because of this easy ability for homeowners to forward the video to police, it is racist somehow. Because, well, what does it do? It helps to solve crime. I don't know.
Wow.
Anyway, all right. And this progressive policy is fueling homelessness, according to a new study. Homelessness is out of control in many of America's biggest cities. Issues like drug addiction and mental illness are most often blamed for the problem. But new research suggests there's another factor, an economic factor, that has played a role. A progressive economic policy. This is a weird one. A study by political scientist Seth J. Hill analyzed the relationship between changes in a locality's minimum wage laws and its homeless population. Hill found a clear negative pattern suggesting that increasing legal minimum wages may fuel homelessness. Municipalities that increased minimum wages by more than $2.50 an hour from 2013 to 2018 saw an average increase of 23% in homelessness. When cities raised their minimum wages by 10%, relative homeless counts increased by 3 to 4%. Wow. Why might this be? Well, to understand how hiking the minimum wage could fuel homelessness, you have to consider all the effects that change can have, not just the touted benefits. Some workers who keep their jobs will see their pay go up. You ready for this? It's going to make perfect sense in just a moment. Other workers will keep their jobs, but ultimately see their pay go down because their overall hours will be cut. See, there you go. You increase the minimum wage. The bosses can't handle it, so they say, well, we have to start trimming people's hours. And so you may make more per hour, but you're going to work fewer hours. Other workers will lose their job because it's no longer profitable to employ them. And the other would-be workers will be priced out of the job market entirely because they can't produce more in value than the required minimum wage payment. The workers on the margins are those who face the most harm from increased minimum wage, will tend to be those already struggling in life with other problems. The same workers at risk of homelessness. And because the market can pay what the market can pay. If you're a business owner and you start to pay more people per hour because you were ordered to do so by the government, but you don't really think the market can sustain that, you don't know that your business model can sustain that, then you start cutting people's hours. You start cutting back on the number of employees. And the people who lose out on this are the people that were on the margins to begin with, and they find themselves increasingly homeless. Here is a perfect example. This is the kind of example that you should take into a classroom and you should teach about the importance of letting the market determine, what things should be. The free enterprise system will find the right balance. And it's when you artificially interject into that you find that things start to go awry. And so out of a sense of largesse, when Democrats say, let's raise the minimum wage, we need to go to, this, that, the other of minimum wage, just got to go up. It sounds like you're trying to help people who are not making a lot of money out there and struggling to make ends meet. But at the end of the day, what you really do is you drive the people that are on the margins in our economy anyway into the dirt. They lose out because business will only spend so much money to do what they do. They're not going to spend money that they can't recoup. So if you get ordered to increase your minimum wage, you have two choices: increase the minimum wage and go out of business, or increase the minimum wage and cut people hours so that they can't make as much. Isn't that interesting? Woke policy run awry. It is now 50 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. Let's talk about the Nashville Armory Ranges, 2 locations for your convenience. The Nashville Armory is at 4290 Kenilwood Drive in Nashville. 15,000 square feet, which combines retail, classrooms, and, of course, pistol and rifle-rated ranges. You can learn to become proficient, and then you can stay that way. The second location, the Franklin Range at 390 Southwind Drive. There you'll find 10 state-of-the-art shooting ranges equipped with automated track Arctic control and custom shooting stalls that provide a virtual private shooting experience. The folks that work there, they're best. They pride themselves on hiring folks with the expertise to advise experienced shooters, but they also have the patience to guide those who are new to the 2A world. You'll find no attitude. You'll find no pressure. Gunsmithing back at the Nashville Range. If you're buying your first gun or adding to the collection, you'll find a wide selection of new pre-owned firearm suppressors, optics, apparel, and shooting accessories. It's the place to buy. It's the place to train. It's the place to shoot. Learn more. Just go to armoryranges.com. That's armoryranges.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. 2 big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.
Russia's response to cluster munitions getting sent to Ukraine from the United States, a murder-suicide shooting in Clarksville, a senator defending white nationalism, and Aretha Franklin's will was discovered in couch cushions. That and more coming up at 4 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, that's where you hide all the good stuff, right? I mean, come on.
That's
Good
it.
Lord. Wow. In couch cushions. Seems like nobody wanted to find it. Let's look at the markets. Dow Jones Industrial up 317 points today. That's about a full percent. S&P is up 29. The NASDAQ is up 75. That's about 0.5%. So all screens are green here today as we await key consumer inflation reports to come in later this week. Now, in Tennessee, good news for the business economy. Ty Draper is standing by over at Beacon Capital Management with details on that. Hello, Ty.
Yeah, not only was it green on the screen today, but also a big win for the state of Tennessee. In CNBC's annual Top States for Business poll, Tennessee moved up a solid 3 places from number 6 in 2022 to number 3. Some of the most sizable gains in ranking were in the development of workforce, infrastructure, and education, once again proving that it's not only a great place to grow your family, but also a great place to grow your business.
All right. Thank you, Ty Draper. If you want to find out about some of the things they can do for you over at Beacon Capital Management, just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. That's askbeaconnow.com. 58 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk.
Four o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 89 degrees and chances of rain and thunderstorms beginning tomorrow night. Complete weather and traffic in about 5 minutes. Moscow responding to announced U.S. moves to supply Ukraine with cluster bombs. Here's more information from Tom Rivers.
Russian Defense Minister Shoigu says his side will be forced to use similar weapons against Ukrainian forces. That could mean the eastern part of the country could be awash in the deadly ordnance for decades to come. On the counteroffensive, he says Ukraine has not achieved any of its goals. In one push in Luhansk, he claims Ukraine lost up to 90 personnel, 3 Leopard tanks, and 6 Bradley fighting vehicles.
And as confirmed today at the NATO summit, Ukraine will soon become a member of NATO as well. An active investigation in Clarksville, Tennessee. Right now, officials are looking into a shooting that ended in a result of a homicide and a suicide. The incident happened in the 4200 block of Moore Hollow Road inside of a house. Law enforcement say there's no danger to the public. Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama doubled down on his defense of white nationalists while speaking to reporters today on Capitol Hill. Andy Field.
On CNN, Republican Tommy Tuberville denying white nationalists are racist.
Do you believe they should allow white nationalists in the military?
Well, they call them that. I call them Americans.
And then today,
I'm totally against racism. And if the Democrats want to say that white nationalists are racist, I'm totally against that too.
But that's not a Democratic definition. The definition of a white nationalist
well,
is
that's your definition.
Fellow Republicans distancing themselves from Tuberville's definition.
And a big fine for a big bank. Bank of America is being ordered to pay $100 million to customers and hundreds of millions more in fines and penalties Federal regulators accuse the nation's second largest banking institution of double dipping on fees, withholding credit card rewards, and opening fake accounts. Right now in the mid-state, a Wilson County school board member is proposing a policy that requires teachers to tell parents if their kids are transgender. News 2 says debate was heated at times last night.
I will have you removed. Time.
Some parents said it's the duty of a teacher to let parents know, while others say it endangers children. And a will found in Aretha Franklin's couch will stand, says a jury. Here's Jason Nathanson.
A jury in Michigan is giving respect to an Aretha Franklin will written in a spiral notebook and found underneath some couch cushions. The jury saying that the document from 2014 should stand as Franklin's wishes over a 2010 will that was found in a locked cabinet. Both documents were discovered after Franklin's death in 2018. She didn't leave behind a formal will, and her sons have been fighting over the two versions, both of which apparently spread music and copyright money equally among her sons. But each version names different executors and splits up things, including Franklin's main home, in different ways.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Good afternoon. Hour number 2 of The Drive on this 11th day of July. And we're glad to have you here on The Drive. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, in for, the next few hours to bring you news and information you can use before we hand it over to Mark Levin, the great one. I want to talk a little bit about something that I think is one of the greatest scams in Washington. I often hear people say, and they ask me this question: how is it that people who have, good government jobs, and we're talking about elected officials and sometimes appointed officials, and sometimes confirmed officials, how is it that they come into government, they don't have much money, and they make up, a decent living, but they end up leaving the service of government and they're millionaires? How does that happen? Well, I think we're trying to figure out what was going on with Joe Biden and his family and how he became, at one point was often talked about as being one of the poorest senators in the United States Senate. But then, over time, as he got ready to leave as the vice presidency, it seemed like he had plenty of money in the bank, enough to buy beach houses and who knows what else. Nice Corvettes in the garage. So how does that happen? Well, I'm going to give you one example of how it happens. And I think it's a scam, and I've long thought it's a scam, and I've actually done an investigative reported piece about this, dating way back to the 1980s. I was doing some of these stories. And it has to do with the writing of books. Now, look, I think that there is something to be said about sharing, interesting thoughts in the form of a book, but often, it's children's books or some sort of goofy thing that you cook up with a ghostwriter. You don't even write the book. You just, it's my story of blah, 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 featured, and then it'll be Bob White, or, written by, the actual author's name is listed there. And so you put it out as your book, right? And then you hit everybody and you say, well, sure would like to have a chance to meet with you and talk about that issue. Have you seen my new book? And and what happens is, it's the sort of unspoken evil part of all of this is, it becomes sort of understood in Washington, on K Street and elsewhere, that if you really want to get favorable policy considerations, then you need to find a way to buy a bunch of books. And whatever you do with them is fine. You can dump them in the Ohio River. You can burn them. You can hand them out to your friends. You can put them in a storeroom and just do nothing with them. Whatever you want to do, but you got to buy the books. And this is sort of the unspoken code. Well, we just bought 500 of your new books, and we'd sure love to have a meeting. Listen to this story that's burbling now about, and this is a pretty solid investigative piece by the Associated Press regarding Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor and how they go about it. All right, you ready? For colleges and libraries seeking a bold-faced name for a guest lecturer, few come bigger than Sonia Sotomayor, the Supreme Court justice who rose from poverty in the Bronx to the nation's highest court. She has benefited, too, from schools' purchases of hundreds, sometimes thousands, of the books that she has written over the years. Sotomayor's staff has often prodded public institutions that have hosted the justice to buy her memoir or children's books that have earned her at least, are you ready for this number? $3.7 million since she joined the court in 2009. Details of those events, largely out of public view, were obtained by the Associated Press through more than 100 open records requests to public institutions. The resulting tens of thousands of pages of documents offer a rare look at Sotomayor and her fellow justice beyond their official duties. In her case, the documents repeated examples of taxpayer-funded court staff, people who are paid to be her Supreme Court clerks or staff, performing tasks for the justice's book ventures, which workers in other branches of government are barred from doing. But when it comes from promoting her literary career, Sotomayor is free to do what other government officials cannot, because the Supreme Court does not have a formal code of conduct leaving the 9 justices to largely write and enforce their own rules. Now, what they're saying here is that it's a Supreme Court. There are no rules about this, so you can do what you want to. You want your staff? Yeah, have them call and make arrangements for that speech. And by the way, if you want me to come, you're going to have to buy so many books. That's fine. In Congress, that can't happen, but that doesn't mean you can't hire somebody from the outside to do that for you and to get people to buy and handle all your book sales. Supreme Court staffers have been deeply involved in organizing speaking engagements intended to sell books. That is conduct prohibited for members of Congress in the executive branch. In a statement, the Supreme Court said it works with justices and their staffs to make sure they're in complying with judicial ethics and guidance for such visits. When Sotomayor is invited to participate in a book program, chamber staff recommends the number of books for the organization based on the size of the audience so as not to disappoint attendees who may anticipate books being available at the event, said the court. Listen to this. The documents obtained by the AP show that the justices' conduct spans their conservative-liberal split. Besides book sales, appearances by the justices were used in hopes of raising money at schools, which often invited major contributors to the event. Justices lent the allure of their high office to partisan activity. In 2019, Sotomayor traveled the country to promote her new children's book, Just Ask. Library and community college officials in Portland, Oregon, jumped at the chance to host an event. I mean, if you're in Portland, you want to get a good group of liberals to come and show and support what you're doing. Say, we're going to have a Supreme Court justice here. Oh yeah, okay. They put in long hours and accommodated the shifting requests of Sotomayor's court staff. Then, at the public cost of hosting the event soared almost tenfold, a Sotomayor aide emailed with a different urgent concern. She said the organizers did not buy enough copies of the justice's book, which attendees had to purchase to have on hand order to meet Sotomayor after the talk. Yeah, if you want to meet the Supreme Court Associate Justice Sotomayor, you got to buy a book. And so here it is. Here's a quote from the email. For an event with 1,000 people, they have to have a copy of Just Ask to get into the line. 250 books is definitely not enough. The aide, On Lee, wrote staffers at the Multnomah County Library. Families purchase multiples, and some people will be upset if they are unable to get in line because the book required is sold out. It was not an isolated push. As Sotomayor prepared for commencement weekend at the University of California, Davis Law School, her staff pitched officials there on buying copies of signed books in connection with the event. Before a visit to the University of Wisconsin, the staff suggested a book signing. But again, you had to buy the book. This is the scam. You know, for Hunter Biden, it would appear that what he was selling was access to the old man and to policy decisions of the Obama and now the Biden administration. Okay? That's what he was selling. In other situations, you have people who are, writing books and making these say, yeah, we'll come by, and we'll do a meet and greet. We'll do a, what do they call it? They have a term, a grip and grin. We'll do a grip and grin. You can have your, pictures taken, the selfie with this high-ranking official. You have a moment there. You get your book signed. You get to say hello. You get to get something for your scrapbook. But you have to buy a book, right? Well, that's what they are selling. In other words, to get access to these people in these situations, you have to buy the book. In her case alone, $3.7 million worth of books. And I'm promising you that a lot of these books end up in the dumpster. A lot of these books will never end up in a library. A lot of these books will be thrown away, dumped in a river, run through a grinder. I don't know, but I'm telling you, this is not. And look, Sotomayor is the one that they focused on here because it has seemed to be more egregious. But how would you like to be? We're just a local library, and we're just thrilled to have the Associate Justice come and do a little book, speech, and then we'll sell a few books, and people will shake a few hands, and then you get the note. Sure would be a shame if something happened to your nice little book signing, but we notice you've only bought 250 books, and this is simply not enough. You need to buy more than 1,000. And so after you've gone into all of this investment, then comes the pinch. But you need to buy more books. No, I'm not going there if all I'm selling is 250 books. I got to have 1,000 books. You're going to make a big mistake if you don't buy some more books. I remember when I was a Capitol Hill correspondent in the early days of my career in Washington, and there was a big kerfuffle about books that had allegedly been written by Speaker of the House Jim Wright, and this was going on even then. If you want to make a donation to Jim Wright's campaign, there are ways for you to do that. If you want to make a political donation to a PAC for when the then Speaker of the House was involved, you could have done that easily. But if you really want favor with the Speaker of the House, you buy 1,000 books. For people who have business before the House of Representatives, who want access, who want to be able to open doors and to be looked favorably upon, everybody knew you had to buy the book. It's a scam. It's an absolute scam. And the books are usually written by ghostwriters and usually not very good. We ran that, and basically that's one of the reasons why Jim Wright had to resign as Speaker of the House back in the day. I'll never forget. Well, I'll tell that story in a moment. But I'll never forget one incident while I was chasing down that story. To this day, it's just one of my more vivid and strong memories of covering that institution. And I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But right now, 20 minutes past the hour at 4 o'clock. All right, so this is the time of year where you need to make sure your air conditioner is getting it done. And is it? Are you having trouble? You wake up and it's warm, and there's no cool air. Call the number I would call, 615-775-7833, and have the folks over at Busy Bee buzz over to your hive and get your AC up and running good. They are your official Rude Pro partner. Now, sometimes it's an easy fix. Sometimes, honestly, depending on how old the system is, it comes a time where you have to replace it. And they want you to know when it comes to plumbing systems or HVAC systems, you'll find no better value than at Busy Bee. I think you should become a member of the Beehive Club. I am. You get 3 thorough maintenance services on your systems, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges 24/7 and 10% off all repairs. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com.
I-65 North completely closed at the 440 split in Nashville. Ukraine's timeline of joining NATO. A person in Putnam County spits on an officer, and we'll have the latest money news. Those stories and more coming up 4:30. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, it's 25 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk. I was telling you about the story about when I was chasing the Speaker of the House, Jim Wright, of Texas at the time. And, when you're Speaker of the House, you control the entire building, basically. The Senate covers its side, but, you are sort of like the mayor of Capitol Hill. And so you can say you have to get permission to take your cameras in certain places and set them up. Well, we've been chasing Jim Wright, and he had been ducking us. He'd been ducking us for days and days and days and days because this book story was getting better and better and better, and we were asking questions, and so he was avoiding us. And I got wind that he was going to go give a speech to a small group of people that had gathered on the third floor of the Capitol on the House side. And so I decided I was going to stake it out, but I didn't have permission to do so. So what I did was I went to a network reporter who I knew, and I said, Speaker's going to be right down the hall. This is, if it's one camera, I'll probably get sent back. If it's two cameras and one of them is a network camera, the other two network cameras will show up. You can be sure of that. So I thought, if we got 3 or 4 cameras there, then it's going to be hard to chase us away. So we went down there and stood outside the little doorway. And around the corner comes the Speaker of the House's aide, who is coming to do the pre-check before the Speaker shows up. And he comes around the corner, and, it's like a cartoon skit. What? What? Oh, my gosh. And you see him dart back down toward the Speaker's office. We're right now. They know we're here. They haven't chased us off. We got all of our cameras focused down that hallway waiting for the Speaker to come around so we can start yelling questions at him, right? All of a sudden, from behind us, out of nowhere, a rear attack. Here comes the Speaker from the back of the crowd, working his way. We were all pointed in the wrong direction, and he got through the first level of the cameras and the reporters. There were about maybe 25 or 30 people there, and he was just about to get inside the door, and we're going to miss our opportunity. And I decided this is the last chance. Mr. Speaker, why is it that you are running from the press corps? He got all the way into the door and whipped around, and he came back pointing his finger at me and said, I have never run from the press corps. Then why won't you answer our questions? He said, you stay here. I'm going to go in here and talk to these nice people. When I come out, I'll answer your questions. And that's how we got him on camera that day.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, I had to, because you have to deal with these intermediaries up there, the folks who help you cover Capitol Hill. They're called the gallery staff. And you're supposed to go through them and you're supposed to work with them, but I didn't want them to get involved in this. I didn't want them to know this was going to happen. So I walked over before this all happened to one of the gallery staff and I said, this would be a very good day for you to take a long lunch and not be findable for about 2 hours. And from that point, from that moment on, it continued to devolve daily for the Speaker. It was really the beginning of the end, that particular moment. And he ended up having to basically walk away from the job of Speaker of the House largely because of, as we reported, one of these book scandals. It was true then, it's true now. They're a way to rip off and to gain money and to play off the power that you have as an elected or an appointed official, and it's a dirty scam, and it ought to come to a close, and we ought to ban book sales, or at least set up some kind of system where it is handled independently once the book is written. Put it in a trust. I'll find out what's going on with it later. But I guarantee you they don't want that because they love that extra money coming in. All they got to do is hire a ghostwriter for a few $1,000s, and you can turn that into $3.7 million, as we have just witnessed. Something else. 30 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
"30 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 88 degrees and expected to stay dry until tomorrow evening. Right now, I-65 North closed at the 440 split in Nashville due to a multi-vehicle crash. Emergency vehicles are on the scene. We're going to keep you up to date there about what's going on the roads right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Full forecast and the latest traffic report. We'll let you know more about it on the way in 5 minutes. And ahead of a meeting with President Biden at the NATO summit today, President Zelensky is publicly criticizing Biden's position on Ukraine joining NATO. Ines de la Catera is traveling with the president.
Most NATO member states agree that Ukraine should, at some point down the road, be allowed to join, but that now is not the time because of the ongoing war. And should Ukraine be allowed to join now, that would drag in all NATO members into the war and would essentially set off World War III. So they're, of course, trying to avoid that. But Ukraine and Zelensky still want some assurances from NATO that this will happen. They want specifics. They want a roadmap. They want a timeline.
Crime in Tennessee. A man was charged with public intoxication and furthered his punishment by spitting in a Putnam County officer's face. The man did not become violent until arriving at the jail. This deputy will now have to attend checkups for the next year to make sure he did not receive any diseases from this man, and the man remains in jail with an August 7th court date set. And now over to some money news. Michelle Franzen walks us through Wall Street.
Stocks closed higher on Wall Street Tuesday as investors weighed on news about inflation and corporate profits. Major indexes were up less than 1% after a quiet day of trading. Investors looking ahead to Wednesday's update on inflation and consumer prices, hoping good news will lead the Federal Reserve to curb raising interest rates. Activision Blizzard jumped 10% after a judge gave the go-ahead for Microsoft's takeover of the video game maker. Cruise operators were down following a tough start to the year. Carnival fell 2.2% and Royal Caribbean slipped 1.9%, but both were still up more than 100% for the year so far. Bank of America has been ordered to pay more than $100 million to customers for double charging fees and withholding rewards. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau today said that those charges were illegal. In addition, the bank must also pay $150 million in penalties.
And that is the latest news, traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Yes, and when it comes to structural foundation issues around your home, waterproofing issues, that's a big dog deal, isn't it, man? I mean, you don't know what you're in for. It's not your area of expertise. You need real guidance. You need honest guidance, and that's what you're going to get from the folks at United Structural Systems. That's right. Don't take my word for it. Listen to some of these people who have done business with them. Here's Constance. Excellent experience. The entire crew was professional and knowledgeable about their services and put me at ease with the entire process. Gloria. I want to say hats off to the crew for their hard and excellent work. I'm very pleased with the work they did. They did not leave a mess to be cleaned up. Actually, you cannot even tell they had been there. It is good, hard workers that make me love USS, and I tell everyone about your excellent customer service and work. I thank you for the respect that your guys showed me. They were truly like a breath of fresh air. I mean, don't take my word. These are actual customers. So why don't you why don't you reach out to them and find out what they can do for you if you've got a problem? Just go to their website, USSTN.com, or call this number, 615-488-7855. USS, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama, online at USSTN.com. It is 37 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. There's been a story out there that I've been wanting to get at for some time now, and I've been trying to think about how I wanted to approach it. And I think, well, it's something we all went through. You went through it. I went through it. Every American went through the whole lockdown of COVID and all that followed, and the thing that we're just now beginning to find out some years after we're beyond the event, is that this apparently did come from the lab in Wuhan. Something we were reassured, that can't possibly be the case because we were told by Anthony Fauci, who
I represent science.
Who represents science, and remember he always has. And he said because he represents science.
I represent science.
It somehow had to do with a penguin kissing a dolphin or something. I don't know. No, that's not it. But I mean, he said it happened naturally in nature. Is this the more likely outcome? Not a Wuhan lab thing at all. And so I'm gonna play a little soundbite from Rand Paul, who had it right from the very beginning. And then I want to ask you this question. Jump on the hotline and tell me what you think. Now that we're past it, now that we, look, I mean, every human being that has a brain cell working has looked at all the facts, and it seems very clear that Rand Paul was right. This started in the lab. What are the lessons that we walk away from? What thing did we learn from COVID-19 that we will not forget the next time? What instructed us What did you walk away with? 615-737-9986. Here's Rand Paul talking about this on Fox.
I think without question there was a cover-up, and the cover-up was orchestrated by Dr. Fauci. The most important piece of information will be, did he sign any documents or verbally tell anyone that the research in China did not have to go through the proper channels and scrutiny? There was a committee set up to study dangerous pathogens. This research should have gone there to be scrutinized. When I asked Fauci about this in committee, he says, dozens of my experts told me it didn't need to go before the committee. But him exempting the Chinese research from the scrutiny of the Committee on Dangerous Viruses was inexcusable, inappropriate, and I think evidence of malfeasance. But then when he was caught up in this and he sees the pandemic coming out of there and he's going, holy cow, we're doing this gain of function research in China, he knew he'd been funding it. He immediately began distorting and orchestrating journal articles to say nothing to see here. It absolutely came from nature. And most objective people at the very least are 50-50 on this. But I would say dozens and dozens of eminent scientists now are more like 90-10 that this came from a lab.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that is the long-term outcome of this investigation. The investigation that is ongoing is that this didn't come from nature. This came from the lab, and there are real questions about that. But it was a societal event. We changed the trajectory of our economy. We changed everything by locking down the economy in a short while. We've lost a generation of our children who have got screwed up because they're behind now in classrooms. They're not reading and writing and doing math at the level at which they should. There are so many things, but I want to know what did you take away from COVID-19 that you will carry forward and remember the next time something like this happens, God forbid. Let's go to Tim in Spring Hill. Tim, you're on with Brian on the drive. By the way, got some phone lines open, 615-737-9986. What do you say, Tim?
You know, I guess the biggest thing that I've learned is anytime a politician opens their mouth, they're lying. I mean, seriously, I never once did not believe that virus did not come out of the Wuhan lab. And I know that I'm not alone in my thinking that, you know, I was 100% sure, and sure enough, you know, everything's pointing to that fact. And Rand Paul had it right from the beginning.
He sure did.
I'm all for going after Fauci and putting him behind bars. I really am. I mean, he hurt our country. He never helped our country. He hurt it. So, but he's all about science.
Yeah, he's all about science. If you don't believe him, just ask him. Tim, thank you so much for the call out of Spring Hill. Greatly appreciated. Barry in Hartsville, you're up next on Super Talk 99.7. What did you learn from the whole experience? And not only just, you know, what was going on in Washington, but how we all locked down our economies and we sent our kids, back home to learn remotely, which was a complete disaster. I mean, are there things that you walked away from, you say, I will never fall for that one again? What's your thought, Barry?
Brian, how are you doing today?
Doing fine. What's your thought?
Well, my thought is when this whole thing hit, everybody was back and forth about do we take the vaccinations or whatnot. I never had any kind of symptoms of COVID. I had family members that came down with it. I never contracted it, but I took the vaccinations, both of them from Moderna. No family history of blood clots ever in my family. But all of a sudden, here I am today in 2023 sitting with 2 small blood clots in each lung, and my doctor says it could be possibly COVID related. So, you know, whether it be from vaccination or whether I contracted COVID and never showed any symptoms, who knows? But the fact that I took the vaccinations just, you know, makes me think, why did I do that?
Yeah, so, I have struggled with that part of it too, Barry. I did take the J&J shot, the single shot, And I mean, I wrestled with that decision. And do you take them at their word? I mean, there was so much we did not know in the early going, and we were still trying to figure it out. What is this thing, and is it real, and do we need this kind of this sort of vaccine? So I took the shot, and I'm here today. The person who used to do the show during this time slot did not take the shot, and he's not here today. So I mean, I don't know what to tell you about that. I think in the last days, Phil Valentine let it be known through family members that he wished he had taken the vaccination, but had chosen not to do so. I don't know what the right answer is, but I know this. I knew that as I was getting a little older, that I was eligible for something known as a shingles vaccine. And after all of the trouble we went through with vaccines, I kept putting it off, I think. Boy, I wish I hadn't. So I don't know what the answer is. And I understand that we still have very, very strong feelings about these vaccines and whether they were the right thing or the wrong thing. And I mean, I've got friends who have just worn me out endlessly about having taken that vaccine. And I get all that. But it's something that, we all had to wrestle with in real time. And we had to make a guess. I think that's the thing I look at is I'm going to be very skeptical of anybody trying to tell me, that I have to do something in the future. That's the thing I think I walk away from. Steve in Nashville. Steve, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What did you pick up out of all this now that we're looking back and starting, finally, a couple of years after it's all been it's behind us, we're starting to now to get pretty definitive answers about where it came from. But what did you learn?
Well, just really, what are the odds of it coming from a location where we have a center for disease, right? And, a bat somehow made it happen naturally when we got the center for disease there. I just think that's not coincidental.
Yeah. Listen, to me, it always made a lot of sense that a place that does research on novel coronaviruses was a couple of blocks away from this wet market where allegedly they think it started, and it started to spread. It's like that's just too huge a coincidence. The logic of it, always pointed in the direction of something coming out of that lab, but it's hard to prove, especially when you have people who are in the process who are telling you no.
I represent science,
and you need to listen to me. All right, Billy in Murfreesboro, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What did you learn from the whole affair, and what things might you take forward into the future with you should we ever face something like this again?
Hey, Brian, are you talking to me? This is Billy
yeah,
from Murfreesboro.
Go ahead, Billy, you're up.
Hey, I took the Moderna, and I took both of them, and I've had some health issues since then. They pretty much, after Phil got sick, that's when I decided to take it, and I didn't get the booster because I don't trust them. And I'm a vet, a disabled vet, and when you go to the VA, they really try to pressure you into that. And I had to fight them. I said, I'm not doing it. Not to mention the damage it's done to our economy. Shoot, I took my wife today, and it was over $20 for 2 coffees.
All right, Billy. Well, I don't know that I can do much about that, but I do appreciate it. It is a struggle. We don't have a lot of trust in our government entities anymore. And every time something like this happens, and we look back at it, and we find out, we were doing this stuff, and we were running headlong into trying to. The only thing I think that we had an obligation in government to do was to develop a vaccine. I think it was. Can you imagine the hell that would have been paid if we were losing millions of people and there was no government vaccine or no vaccine that was being developed by the government in order to meet the need? Now, to that degree, Donald Trump did amazing work. He got those vaccines out. But that's where I think government's responsibility ended. I think it was their responsibility to say, okay, we've done the best we can. We think this is a vaccine that will work. You need to make the decision. But when they start taking away your personal freedom, when they start making you stay at home, when they take your kids and tell them you can't get the education that you deserve because we need to do this remote learning thing, which was a complete disaster. When you shut down aspects of the economy for months and months and months and months and months and months. I mean, look at how difficult it was during all that time. Did we do the right things? And I think we should not stop thinking backwards in that regard to make sure that we come to the conclusion that we have done the right thing and to learn the lessons of COVID so that we do not repeat the mistakes going forward. 50 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. 2 big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.
I-65 North closed in Nashville right now near the 440 split due to a multi-vehicle crash. Some new details on the Franklin soccer coach that raped countless children for over 20 years, artificial intelligence and the threats that it poses, and Queen Bee on her way to Music City. Those stories and more coming up at 5 o'clock. That and more coming up. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, Mac Maury, thank you very much. We'll look forward to that. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. A couple from Tennessee is down there on a little trip. Boyfriend, girlfriend, been dating a while. It's getting time to, maybe he needs to pop the question, so he gets a ring, puts it in his pocket, goes down, expecting that maybe at sunset or so, whip out the ring, ask the big question. Getting close to that time, reaches in his pocket, can't find the ring.
Oh, no.
Lost. It fell out somewhere, and so...
I bet on the beach?
Hard to find, right? A good Samaritan who lived in the area found out what was happening, just grabbed a metal detector.
Wow.
Didn't take very long before the good Samaritan found the ring, and the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina Police Department says the ring was returned to the Tennessean, and he continued his proposal, and the answer was no. No, the answer was no.
You had me there for a second. I thought,
holy crap.
No, she said yes to the ring.
All right.
Good story there. I love
Yeah.
it when there's a happy ending.
Nice.
All right, 57, make it 58 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk. King & Associates Insurance, located in Brentwood, been there for over 25 years as an independent agent, and that's an advantage that can really work to help you a bunch. You see, because they are a company as an independent agent, they can take their time to get to know you as the customer and make sure that you're getting the very best insurance that fits your need specifically. I mean, listen, if you have a high-value home, they know which companies to look for to save you as much as possible. Don't wait until you buy your next home to realize you've been overpaying like so many of us do. Call this number, 615-329-8121. You won't reach a call center. You'll get an actual person who will answer your questions and get you on the pathway. Give them some information. Let them work on it for a while. See what kind of money they can save you. Multi-policy discounts, 20, 25, 30, 35%. So listen, get your royal review with King & Associates. Log into tkinginsurance.com. Again, tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance and Associates, you'll get royal treatment and absolutely fabulous rates.
It's 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 90 degrees on Music Row. I-65 North right now closed at the 440 split in Nashville from an 18-wheeler rolling over and causing other vehicles to crash. Got a complete weather forecast and the latest traffic report coming up in 5 minutes. We're learning new details about the Franklin soccer coach who was arrested for drugging and raping countless children over a 20-year period. Many of these assaults recorded on his cell phone. Here's Channel 4's Brendan Tierney with the latest information.
Franklin police down here say that more victims continue to come forward saying that they were sexually abused by Camilo Campos, and more charges are now expected to be filed. Officers are working right now to go through the hundreds of photos and videos that were found as part of this shocking discovery after Campos's phone was left at a pizza restaurant. They're now working to identify the victims that were seen in those images.
And Williamson County schools say they have no record of Campos ever being employed with them or volunteering. The Williamson County Soccer Association says he was not a certified coach. In Seattle, Washington, 2 large health and wellness centers that are available to Seattle public school students are now offering gender-reaffirming care for no cost. The website for one of the treatment centers states that they take, quote, a trauma-informed approach. The 2 centers are a part of a nonprofit that advertises their services to, quote, transgender, non-binary, and gender-diverse patients on their website. Right now, organizations in Seattle are trying to find out if the public schools are involved in these programs. Artificial intelligence following an all-senators briefing on AI. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer today commenting on the meeting, saying there are security concerns.
It is clear that the private sector is making advances, but the private sector can't do it alone. And the combination of our government and Congress working with the private sector to make sure that we innovate way ahead of everybody else, but at the same time that there are safeguards so that innovation doesn't get out of control or be used for negative purposes.
And he called the briefing eye-opening. Now over to some entertainment news. The Queen Bee is coming to Music City this Saturday. Beyonce will be performing at Nissan Stadium as a part of the Renaissance World Tour. And just like when Taylor Swift was here, there is rain in the forecast. No umbrellas are allowed at Nissan, so make sure if you're going, you have a poncho. And this is Beyonce's first time back in Nashville in 5 years. And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather upcoming. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on this 11th day of July. Beautiful day on tap. It is 7-Eleven, so it means if you can get your free Slurpee on the way home. If they got any left.
Brian, I also got a report that at the participating locations, you can also get 11 cents off of fuel.
Really?
Since it's 7-Eleven day. So you may want to take advantage of that.
That's 11 cents is 11 cents.
That's right.
Let's say if you get 20 gallons, that adds up.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that. Listen, a special programming note. Tomorrow morning, let's see, how should I put this? The answers to some of the things that you've been wanting to know about the future of Super Talk 99.7 will be answered. I know this, that I had a conversation today with esteemed program director Dan Mandis. He's now requiring we put the word esteemed ahead of program director.
And there was a memo about that?
There was a memo about that. Esteemed program director Dan Mandis, who, of course, does the morning show here on Super Talk 99.7 and stole outright. Honestly, he just stole it from us. A little thing that we like to call the Gang of Four.
Yep.
He did. I was going to take that to afternoons, figure that out somehow. And then I found out, no, that's staying. That's staying on the mornings. Yeah. He stole it from me, just outright.
Doesn't even feel bad about it either.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't even look back. He just smiles all the way to the bank. He does on that one, that's for sure. So Dan has summoned me, and I think Matt Murphy, and he'll be there with Johnny B. and Ken Weaver in the morning for a major announcement at about 8:35 or so. Normally the time you would do the Gang of Four or the Gang of Three Amigos or whatever they call it these days. I lost interest in that after they stole it from me. But one way or the I'm going to make an appearance. I'm getting up early to do this. And listen, will you have all of the answers that you want? No, you're not going to have all the answers that you want. And I know that we as an institution, as a broadcast institution, have asked a lot of our audience. Let me just get this off my chest. Before I came here, that was to replace do the early morning show. Before I came here, there was a long stretch. A very long stretch where there was no change in talent on this radio station. It just went for years and years and years. And I want you to understand that is a thing that is unusual in radio. Mm-hmm. I mean, these things come and they go and they serve their purpose. And then, generally they move, there's a change after a given period of time and they move in a new direction. This happens all the time. But it was very unusual that the audience of this radio station had been, able to listen to the same voices for quite a long time. And we understand that people who listen to this radio station have deep, strong feelings. You feel like it's your radio station as well, because we're all one big family, and we're part of the family. We love our audience, but I know that you have questions. You're not going to get all those answers. So I don't want to lead you down the wrong path. But, I came and I took over the mornings and did that for a while. And then we had the tragic loss. It's been very much on my mind the last day, especially after that segment we did a little while ago about Phil Valentine when we lost Phil. Now, there was no great solution to losing a stellar talent like Phil Valentine, a guy who had been here forever, who truly was your friend and radio buddy for many, many, many years. And there was no great solution there. The best solution would have had him continue in that time slot, but we lost that option. And so, a long and hard discussion was had. I mean, we thought about it endlessly, about what we were going to do when we had to finally do something and move forward from that time after we lost Phil. And so, it wasn't the best solution. It wasn't a great solution. It was a solution among some, some were good and some were okay and some were outright bad. This was, we thought, the best solution going forward. And let me just say right now, I am still very much touched by the fact that the audience so embraced what I was trying to do and understood that, I was not there to replace Phil Valentine. That could not ever be done. But I was going to do my best to move forward and be the best Brian Wilson that I could be and try to bring an interesting show to the air. And you've been very supportive. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. But that was another change that happened. And, Dan moves to mornings and he's doing great there. The numbers are very strong and he's, and he's carried on there in a big way. And then we had another change that, quite frankly, I just can't talk about. And I'm not going to get into it again, but we had another change where we had to make a decision about who we were going to bring in. And I am not savvy, or not privy, I guess is the better word, to some of the conversations that have taken place. That's above my pay grade. My job is to come in here every day and to give you a good radio show as best I can produce, and to try to give you something thoughtful to think about and maybe entertain you a little bit on the way home. That's my goal each and every day. And that is my responsibility. There are other decisions that are made above my level, and that those decisions about how we're going to go forward, at least one of those will be made known tomorrow. So you might want to, check in about 8:35 or so tomorrow. I'll be still, taking that stuff that gets in the corner of your eyes.
Oh.
I'll still be trying to get rid of that stuff. But I'll try to be coherent, and you'll learn a little bit about what the plan is going forward. All right.
All right.
And then
very good.
I think am I going too far? Probably am. We got this event at a Korean barbecue. Can't wait. I love Korean barbecue. And we're supposed to have a special guest there. Now, do you see? Are the alarm? Are the light bulbs going off for you now? Am I giving you enough?
Connecting those dots.
Yeah. And so, so that will be your first opportunity to come out and meet the new person. I wish, folks, and I hear you, and I'm not going to spend a lot more time on this. I hear your desire to know more about certain things. We all hear it. We know that we're not stupid. We watch this stuff. We watch what people say, and we it's not lost on us. All I can say is that you're not going to get that answer. You may never get that answer. There is another individual who knows the answer to some of those things. And, I would suggest to ask us again is like beating your head against a brick wall. Okay. If you need to get those answers, there's somebody out there who knows them, and I think they're pretty easy to reach. So that's what I would suggest. I don't know all the answers, and even if I would, I don't think it's my place to discuss it any further than I have. But one way or the other, going forward in a positive way, I think we will have some of the answers that you're wanting to know tomorrow at 8:35 in a very special edition of the Gang of Three Amigos plus one or two.
Be a big gang.
It'll be a big gang.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right.
I've set a reminder.
Yeah. Send an alarm right there on your phone so you get up and listen, see what's going on. And I by the way, I asked Dan if I could say all this, and he said yes.
Oh, good.
So,
all right.
Well, I mean, I didn't tell him everything I was going to say. So
well, we'll see if there's another memo sent out.
Yeah, there's going to be another memo tomorrow, and then we'll find out. This is a story that's really connected to this Hunter Biden thing, which is really interesting. And it has to do with now a new development here. A U.S. think tank leader who has repeatedly accused President Biden and his family of corruption has been charged with acting as an unregistered agent of China, Manhattan prosecutors announced on Monday evening. Gal Luft, and it's a male individual. The only gal that I know besides this individual whose name is Gal is Gal Gadot.
Yeah, Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, yeah. I mean, that's an impression that you can't shake. She's awesome. Gal Luft, co-director of a Maryland-based Institute for the Analysis of Global Security, is accused of recruiting and paying an unnamed former high-ranking U.S. government official on behalf of principals based in China in 2016, without registering as a foreign agent, which is legally required. Well, how about that? Huh. Now, this story gets so complex, and it's like there's so many different tentacles to this octopus. There's so many different facets to this diamond, or whatever it is. It is just hard to keep up. That's why I think people sort of are having a difficult time, and why the government is successful in doing some of the things that they've been able to do to block an investigation of Hunter and the big guy and all of that, is because the story, it gets so complex, it makes you literally your head explode. You say, what now? Remember the other day we were talking about how there was a memo that said, don't worry about giving you the money, because we'll make it so complex that it'll take them 10 years to figure out. Well, I think that's what's going on here. I think that's a lot. But now you have this guy, Gal Luft, who is now being sought by federal authorities, and it somehow connects to the Hunter Biden connection. And here's what Congressman James Comer of Kentucky has to say about all of that.
Here's what I know about Gal Luft. He was getting paid like the Bidens from CEFC. We want to speak with everyone that we can find who was also on the payroll of CEFC like the Bidens. And anyone who says we shouldn't take Gal Luft's allegations seriously discounts the fact that the Bidens wanted to share office space with CEFC, even going so far as to say that Hunter wanted to make an extra set of keys for both Joe Biden, Jill Biden, and the president's brother, Jim Biden. So this company that Gal Luft was working for, who he was getting paid for, is the same company that the Bidens not only were getting paid for, they were also sharing office space with. So we definitely want to hear more about these allegations, and we want to see the notes from the FBI meeting. They sent 6 FBI agents, according to Gal Luft, to Brussels to interview him. I mean, obviously, they were concerned about something he had to say. There's some level of credibility there. So there are a lot of questions here, and it's just amazing the Department of Justice moves so quickly against some people. But then, Laura, the ultimate irony is one of the charges they levied against him was not being a registered foreign agent, which is the main thing that we've said the Bidens were all along, unregistered foreign agents.
I mean, it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder. And so we'll continue to watch that very closely. By the way, tomorrow, it looks like we're going to have a big hearing on Capitol Hill where Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, is going to get grilled. And it's all about, what in the world was the FBI doing? Why is it that they can't get to certain things? Why is it certain investigations are taking so long? Why is it that it seems that, if your name is Trump, man, you got a whole wing of the Department of Justice that's aimed at coming after you. But if your name is Biden or you have a D after your name, boy, I mean, they're slow as turtles. Like snail-like. Wormy slow. I don't know, what are other slow things? But they're slow.
Sloth.
And so, say, what?
Sloth.
A sloth, there you go. Slow as a sloth. And so, why is that the case? Why is there a dual standard is the real question. So there will be, tomorrow's hearing, it has the potential of being a real, as we say, humdinger. I don't know, maybe you don't say humdinger. I still say humdinger.
I bet Joe Biden does.
And he says, by the way, it's all a bunch of malarkey. If you listen to Joe Biden. It is 21 minutes past the hour, 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let's talk about Everseal. What is Everseal, first of all? Well, it's the sealant that you can put on concrete or wood. It actually started out as a technology that was used in industrial applications. And the folks at Everseal figured out how to provide a permanent solution for sealing your exterior wood and concrete at a price that home and business owners can actually afford. Now, here's what they do. They come out, they'll deep clean your wood or concrete, make it look as new as it possibly can, and then they will apply their patented seal, which will absorb all the way through to become a permanent part of your wood and concrete to prevent any further deterioration for the next 30 to 50 years. I said 30 to 50 years. Wow. They got a 25-year manufacturer's warranty on it. So you save it by sealing it once and you're done. Think about, not having to do any of that kind of stuff for 30 to 50 years. How much money would you save? Think about how much you use every year or every other year to seal up some of this stuff. You can see how this could really save you a ton of money. Sound like something you're interested in knowing more about? Why don't you reach out to the folks at Everseal? It's Steve Nelson and his team over there. They'll answer your questions. 1-844-EVER-USA. That's 1-844-EVER-USA. Learn more by going to the website ever-seal.com.
The latest on Ukraine joining NATO, a man at large after KKK flyers get hung up at churches, and Bank of America getting fined. I'll have details all at 30 minutes after the hour, 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey right here, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
As someone who's getting a little older and hopefully a little wiser, I don't like to look at the actuarial tables, but given the fact that we have a very old president, I think it makes sense to do this. I found this article on thehill.com. According to the Social Security Administration, talking about life expectancy, in 1942, Joe Biden was born. His life expectancy at that time when he was born was 71.1 years. Of course, males born today have a much longer life expectancy, 82.3 years. If you're born in recent times, you have a reasonable expectation of living into your 80s. But the longer a person lives, the longer he or she is expected to survive. And Social Security Administration estimates that a male born in 1942 who reaches the age of 65 can, on average, expect to live another 12.8 years, which for Biden would take him to the age of 84, about the middle of his second term. The Social Security Administration provides a life expectancy calculator, which says that a male born in 42 is still alive today at 80, can expect to live another 8.4 years. But that means if Biden were to win his reelection bid, he would on average finish the term with a couple of years to spare, according to some. But there's an important footnote to all of this. The estimates of additional life expectancy do not take into account a wide number of factors, such as health, lifestyle, family history, that could increase or decrease life expectancy. Katia Irvase, a lead writer and spokesperson for NerdWallet, puts it like this. As you expect the risk of dying to increase as we age, for men, 5-year survival odds stay in the single digits until their mid-50s, when longevity percentages began to decrease more dramatically. At 70 years old, the majority of men, are you ready for this? It's surprising. The majority of men at 70 are expected to live another 10 years. A quarter are expected to see the age of 90. And according to Irvasi, an 80-year-old male like Biden has a 31.35% chance of dying in the next 5 years. 31.35. So that would, raise a lot of questions. But given if you add into the factors, I'm going to get to the nut of the thing here. If you add into the factors the things that Joe Biden faces from a health standpoint, it would not be unreasonable, she says, to raise his chances of dying in office to perhaps 50%. Thus, she concludes, it is highly possible, perhaps even probable, that a Biden re-election victory would result in Kamala Harris becoming the first female president. Went a long way to get there. But that's the thing. And you look at all these things, given how low her poll ratings are, you can stop and think for a moment and you say, well, what is the Democrat plan? Is their plan to try to push Joe Biden across the goal line with the understanding that there's a 50% chance perhaps that he will not make it to the end of his term? Hate to talk in those terms, but we have to. The facts are facts. And are they going to be happy with a President Kamala Harris? Or are they going to come up with another alternative? Every time I look at this, I keep coming back to my general sense that Democrats, I don't know how they're going to do it. I haven't figured it out yet. I don't know what the process will be. But as I look at the number of stumbles and things that are happening on the world stage, and there's one a day or more, with this president, I think eventually the American people are going to start to say, I don't think this guy's up for it, and I don't want Kamala. So what is their plan? I don't know. But I would say this. I think that the one thing that continually comes back to me is they won't let this thing go too far if they think they're going to lose, and the thing that seems to be driving a lot of conversation in that direction is his behavior, his stumbles, his falls, and the fact that standing right behind him, one heartbeat away from the presidency, is one of the most disliked politicians in American history. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know how they're going to engineer it. And I don't know who the person on the horizon is going to be. But I think they're getting to the point now where they're talking a lot about these kinds of things. It is now 31 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock.
.531, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Now 90 degrees in Nashville. A dry night expected, but we should see some thunderstorms come tomorrow evening. Complete forecast, latest traffic report coming up. Ahead of a meeting with President Biden at the NATO summit today, President Zelensky is publicly criticizing Biden's position on Ukraine joining NATO. Ines de la Catera traveling with the president.
Most NATO member states agree that Ukraine should, at some point down the road, be allowed to join, but that now is not the time because of the ongoing war. And should Ukraine be allowed to join now, that would drag in all NATO members into the war and would essentially set off World War III. So they're, of course, trying to avoid that. But Ukraine and Zelensky still want some assurances from NATO that this will happen. They want specifics. They want a roadmap. They want a timeline.
Right now in Tennessee, Columbia police are now on the lookout for a man who's believed to have plastered KKK flyers in historically black churches. Here's Channel 4's Sharon Dankwa.
The pastor of Bethel AME Church says one of their ushers found a flyer here just after Sunday morning's 10 o'clock service. The printed out paper details a warning that the Ku Klux Klan, a white supremacist hate group, is back in the community. United Missionary Baptist and Mount Calvary Missionary Baptist also found flyers that same morning, making a total of 4 different places hit around town.
Pastors in Columbia plan to hold a press conference tomorrow to address the situation. And regulators are ordering Bank of America to pay more than $100 million to customers and more than $90 million in fines. The bank is accused of double dipping some fees, withholding credit card rewards, and opening accounts without consent. The bank is the second largest in the United States, serving 68 million individuals and small businesses. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather upcoming. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
You know, if you're buying a diamond and you're not properly educated, that can be a difficult prospect. If you're not careful, you can overpay, and you can overpay big time. Small variations in a diamond's quality specs can make a huge difference in value. You've got to be careful. That's why I always recommend Genesis Diamonds. Genesis Diamonds education is second to none. They will teach you the secrets of the industry. They will explain how diamonds are priced on the world market. Their non-commissioned experts will make you a savvy buyer, even if you decide to shop somewhere else. These days, that's so important, especially if you're considering buying a lab-grown diamond. Let Genesis reveal the truth behind this recent trend and show you all the info on how lab-growns are being overpriced in so many different places. The bottom line, Genesis is your source for the best information as well as the best value for both natural and lab-grown diamonds. Whether you're buying a diamond for the first time or upgrading to a large, rare investment-grade diamond, Genesis will make sure that you do not make a mistake. Genesis Diamonds, where the focus is always on honesty, transparency, education, quality, and value. Do not buy a diamond until you learn the ins and outs from Genesis. 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Yeah, there is a lot of conversation underway right now, still about that cocaine found in the West Wing of the White House. And the question is, where did it come from? Who left it there in a place to be found by law enforcement authorities? And, was there any Biden family connection? Well, if you raise that question in the briefing room, you get abused of, you get a quick and rapid retort from Karine Jean-Pierre. She says, well, it's irresponsible because the Hunter Biden was not there, and he was not there when it was found. It happened on July 2nd. He was away celebrating with the family, I think someplace else, maybe Camp David. I don't know. But one way or the other, the question is, where did it come from? How did it get left there? And how does something like this happen in the White House? Now, I covered the White House for a while, and I never went through this gate. Not one time that I can recall that I ever go through this particular gate. When you go to the White House as a reporter or generally as a guest, the first stop is the northwest gate of the White House complex, where they have uniformed Secret Service police officers who will check you out. Now, I had a pass that gave me access to the White House night or day. And that was important because sometimes we'd be sitting out there in the dark at like 6:30 in the morning on a winter morning, and freezing our butts off, getting ready to do live shots. So you had to have that pass. But I mean, when I came through that gate, I understood that everything that I was bringing in was going to be examined very closely. A briefcase, yeah. Laptop, yeah. Anything that you brought in, sack lunch, it's going to get looked at. So you would, not that I would, but I mean, you would never, ever really try to go through that particular gate and try to, push something through because it would be found and you'd be in trouble. Not only would you lose your White House pass, you could lose your job. But this other gate, this other entrance to the White House on the west side off of the Executive Drive, was an area where a lot of people of pretty high grade could go through. Now, look, if I show up at the White House, they're going to go through my stuff and they're going to go through it and they're going to look in a very detailed way. If you're a high-ranking official of the Biden administration, they're not going to give you the same search. In fact, you might even be waved through. All right? It is a place where a lot of high-level people come through. Occasionally, there are guests that are brought in through that way, but not on a regular basis, not always. And then it's not very far from the Situation Room. So anytime you come in for a big confab at the White House and you're an administration official, probably you're going to be sort of waved through, right? I mean, are you going to stop a chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? No. Are you going to stop the director of the FBI? No. You're going to stop the Department of Justice? No. These people are going to be sort of, yes, sir, good to see you, Mr. Garland, right this way. I'm not suggesting any of those people had anything to do with this, but all I'm pointing out is you're not going to get a very in-depth look at those people. So the person who did this apparently, I think could be high-ranking. It's entirely possible. I don't think that it makes a lot of sense to pin this one on Hunter, but, who knows? All right, so given all that, there's going to be a congressional briefing in the SCIF, in the super secret area up on Capitol Hill. I don't know why. There's nothing about this that should be classified, but maybe there is, and we'll find out. But the Secret Service will give an update to members of Congress who have asked questions. The investigation enters its second week, according to News Nation Now. A lot of unanswered questions remain. Republicans in Washington are asking why it's taking so long to find the suspect in a building hosting scores of surveillance cameras. The bag was found in a foyer of the West Wing basement, which also includes the Situation Room. White House officials noted the Situation Room is currently under construction and has not been used in months. Interesting. To say that they don't know who is at this point, I think it's ridiculous, says Tim Burchett on Friday. So, but they're talking about, well, it's open an investigation. No definitive time frame as to when it could conclude. Compare and contrast that, if you will, with the outstanding work of the Lebanon Police Department. That's right, Lebanon, Tennessee Police Department. According to a story that I haven't found any more on it. Mac Morey, are you there? I don't know if he's there or not. He's in the middle of something. Hey, Mac. A real quick question.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything more about this Lebanon drug bust down at this barber shop?
I wasn't able to find much more. Yeah. I sent you an article from, let's see here, I'm going to it here really quick, from Wilson County Source, and it said that they're basically, looking at it right here, charges are pending against the owner, and I don't know if that was in the information that you had earlier, but that's really all the additional stuff I had, so not much out there.
Yeah, so the Lebanon, Tennessee Police Department has busted a barber shop, apparently, for dealing drugs on, coincidentally, High Street. Well, the Lebanon Police Department has been investigating the Old Town Barber Shop for months, and they said that when they raided, they found cocaine and methamphetamine were being sold from the businesses, they say, and charges are pending against the owner. And the headline, somebody's having way too much fun with this one. Barbershop in Lebanon busted for giving more than buzz cuts. You can get a buzz or you can get a buzz cut, one way or the other, according to police, which we must always add carefully, because you're not guilty until proven so in a court of law. But, but I think that what should happen here is I think that the Secret Service should simply tap into the expertise of the Lebanon, Tennessee Police Department. I mean, I don't understand how in the world they don't have the answers to this yet. In the White House, what do you have? Cameras everywhere. Cameras being recorded 24/7. Cameras, so anything that's going on at that particular location, the cameras should give you some part of the evidence. Okay, well, that's number one. Number two, we have a bag of cocaine, or a baggie. I'm not really sure how much cocaine we're talking about here, but it is cocaine. Fingerprints on the bag. We have, I'm told, the worldwide resources of the federal government, they have some people in there who could tell you if the fingerprints match anybody on file. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But there is that. There are a dozen different kinds of techniques that could be used to identify this cocaine and who its belonger might be. But they keep dragging their feet and dragging their feet and dragging their feet. And when I know this about government is that when you drag your feet repeatedly, time after time after time, day after day after day, generally it's because there's something very uncomfortable or ugly about the information that's about to come out. Now, maybe the House of Representatives will get some information on it. Maybe there's some kind of good explanation for how this happened. I don't know. If there was a good and quick explanation, seems like they would have come up with it pretty easily. Yeah, there was a small bag of cocaine we used to train the dogs. Okay, I don't know. Maybe that's just something came to mind. Maybe it's something like that. But that'd be a pretty easy explanation. So I don't know why it's taken so damn long to find out whose cocaine was in the White House. But I sort of think of it in a different way as well. If you could sneak a bag of cocaine into the White House, what would be the difficulty of sneaking in a bag of anthrax? Honestly, such a scary thought. Not that I want to give anybody, ideas, but this drug got into the White House undetected, left behind by somebody. I don't know who. And now, they're telling us it's going to take weeks and time, and there's no definitive timeline on when we'll get this. Well, just call the Lebanon Police Department. I'm sure that some accommodation could be arranged. Maybe a lead detective from the Lebanon Police Department could travel to Washington, D.C. and say, look, we have some experience here in Lebanon about doing these drug investigations. Maybe we could help you out with this, Secret Service, since you seem incapable of getting to the answer on all this. Buzz cut.
High and tight.
High and tight on High Street. There's got to be some more jokes in there somewhere. I want to know more about this, but really honestly, the truth is, all that you have from the Lebanon police is like 3 sentences on this. But apparently a long-running investigation. Who knew they sold stuff like that in barbershops?
That's one way to do it, I guess. Wonder what the code word was that you had to say in order to get a little something on the side there.
Yeah, something. High and tight with a little something on the side.
That was it. Yeah.
Maybe you had it. I noticed you came back with a haircut. You haven't been to Lebanon to get your haircut?
Not been to Lebanon, no. Sorry.
I'll take my drop fade with extra fade. I don't know. It was hard.
That was not.
No, sorry, I let you guys down.
No, I know. It was a no. You started down the pathway and then it just fell apart. I don't know about that, but I mean, I know that my barber Kim, I'm pretty sure is not dealing drugs here in Watertown.
Just pretty sure, or you really
I'm
sure?
I'm pretty damn sure.
All right.
Lord knows that I'm not involved. I haven't been to a barber in quite some time. So.
Well, this is something we were going to talk about at your next review. We'll talk about that later. 50 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. Two big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.
Let's talk about the Wellness Institute of Nashville, best known for their non-surgical spinal decompression. It can help you a lot of different ways. If you have pain in your arms, your legs, your neck, your back, the non-surgical spinal decompression. I've been through it. I went through a bunch of treatments, and it really, really did help me. And now, at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley Mitchell are offering the first of its kind KT machine. It's like spinal decompression for your knee. It elongates the knee and joint and allows the meniscus and or cartilage to heal without the need for surgery or painkillers. What you do is you need to call this number, 615-246-5009. That's 615-246-5009. Take advantage of the 2023 special. Exam, consultation, x-rays included if needed, or bring an MRI in if you have one to look at. Dr. Mitchell will go over your condition, and your custom healing recovery plan will be discounted by 50%. It, again, starts with a phone call, 615-246-5009. Learn more about all the things they can do for you at the Wellness Institute of Nashville by going to their website, painisbad.com.
It's 6 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, I-65 North is closed at the 440 split in Nashville. Emergency vehicles are still on the scene there after an 18-wheeler overturned. Right now, 89 degrees on Music Row. Forecast latest traffic report coming up. We are learning new details about the Franklin soccer coach who was arrested for drugging and raping countless children over a 20-year period. Many of these assaults recorded on his cell phone. Here's Channel 4's Brendan Tierney with the latest info.
Say that more victims continue to come forward saying that they were sexually abused by Camilo Campos, and more charges are now expected to be filed. Officers are working right now to go through the hundreds of photos and videos that were found as part of this shocking discovery after Campos's phone was left at a pizza restaurant. They're now working to identify the victims that were seen in those images.
And Williamson County schools say they have no record of Campos ever being employed with them or volunteering. And the Williamson County Soccer Association says he was not a certified coach. Moscow responding to announced United States move to supply Ukraine with cluster bombs. Here's more from Tom Rivers.
Russian Defense Minister Shoigu says his side will be forced to use similar weapons against Ukrainian forces. That could mean the eastern part of the country could be awash in the deadly ordnance for decades to come. On the counteroffensive, he says Ukraine has not achieved any of its goals. In one push in Luhansk, he claims Ukraine lost up to 90 personnel, 3 Leopard tanks, and 6 Bradley fighting vehicles.
And NATO made it clear that the ultimate goal is to have Ukraine join NATO, but that timeline and roadmap to that are still unclear. Right now in Middle Tennessee, a Wilson County school board member is proposing a policy requiring teachers to tell parents if their kids are identifying as a gender other than what they were assigned at birth. News 2 says it's only in the discussion phase. No votes have been taken yet, but Director of Schools Jeff Luttrell told a recent board meeting there are more important matters to deal with.
I'm sick of focusing on some of this stuff every day of my job. I need to be focusing on the issues at hand, which are building schools, which are trying to find more money in the budget to pay teachers. School
board member Joseph Padilla is proposing the policy and says telling a parent that their child is transgender is the same as telling their parent if their child has ADHD. A standoff near BNA. Police were outside of an apartment complex for hours in a standoff with a person who threatened to shoot at law enforcement. The standoff ended just before 9 p.m. yesterday. Officials took that suspect to an ambulance, and no updates yet on that person's condition. And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather coming up next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. 6:06 on Super Talk 99.7 into the fourth hour of the show on the 11th day of July, the 7-11. Yeah, and yes, I think that I don't know how long the Slurpee thing goes. Free Slurpee.
I would think
7-11
until
day.
midnight, right?
Well, you would
I don't
think.
know. I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a 7-Eleven near me anymore, so I'm not going to be able to check that out. But apparently, this is. I mean, this is their day. The folks at 7-Eleven.
And
used to go by there was a brand new one over on the Golden Bear Gateway. Over there next, not too far from, the big Amazon warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Massive over there. I would tell you, as a person who's been to a few 7-Elevens in my day, that's the finest 7-Eleven I've ever seen.
Really?
Fine example, yes.
All right.
It has lots of gas pumps, and apparently they got a lot of space around the thing because the big trucks come in there. I mean, if you got a big load going to Amazon, and then you're coming out of there, you got to get you a hot dog and a Slurpee and get on the highway, right? Get on down the road. Now, that's the only one I know about, but I'm not going to get by there. So, but anyway, get you free Slurpee. I mean, I want people to have their free Slurpee if they can avail themselves of that prospect.
I just checked 711.com, and it just says valid only on 7/11/23 while supplies last. So I would assume it's as long as it's the 11th.
See, there you go. While supplies last. There's always an out. There's always a way that they're going to scam you.
Sorry, we just ran out.
Oh, gosh, we'd love to give you that small Slurpee for free, but we just ran out. And it does say right here in the fine print, while supplies last. Well, anyway. A programming note, if you are a longtime listener to this radio station, you might want to tune in tomorrow morning at about 8:35 or so, when Dan Mandis and Johnny B and Ken Weaver and all those guys do that thing they call the Gang of Three Amigos, because there will be the Gang of Three Amigos plus me plus Matt Murphy, and there's an announcement to be made. So, you are due some answers about, the future of this radio station, how we're going to go forward. And some of the answers will be provided. Not all the ones that you want answered will be answered, but going forward, what the plan is, we're going to be sharing that with you. And then, remember, we've talked about this Korean barbecue event in Hendersonville. Where we heard the exceptional acting chops of Matt Murphy saying, "Hey, Dan, this says Korean barbecue." Well, that event will
Wait a minute,
also.
you forgot the.
Oh yeah.
You have to add the paper crumple in there.
Wait a minute.
Korean?
Wait a minute, Dan. That says Korean barbecue. That's right. South Korean, not North Korean. And no, I think, and you're going to get to, apparently, when we talk about how there may be a special guest there.
I heard that. Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, those words did come out of my mouth.
That was your line, yeah.
It was my line as written by Dan Mandis. This is what you're supposed to say, chump. Just record it. Don't ask any questions. That's the way it goes with him. Well, and that maybe, so let's think about it. A major announcement tomorrow. And then they'll have this Korean barbecue thing that's on the horizon. There'll be a special guest there. Are you beginning to see?
Connect the dots.
That's right.
La, 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 la.
Okay. So there's that. That's at 8:35 tomorrow morning. I'm getting up early. Matt Murphy is coming in early. All hands on deck for the big announcement. And we look forward to you joining us there as well. Let's see. Americans are seeking cheaper everyday essentials. And it threatens corporate growth is what I'm reading here. But let me just read this Bloomberg. The first line catches my attention because humanity does not need this. Americans are cutting back on personal hygiene products. In a troubling sign for the U.S. economy and consumer-focused companies. Okay. Despite surging inflation, shoppers kept spending thanks to income gains and government stimulus, but those benefits are waning, and now Americans are skimping on everyday items such as toilet paper and toothpaste. Now, you
frightening.
got to have some toilet paper. Hold on a minute. You got to have toilet paper, right? Or do you get the good stuff?
I do in my house.
Yeah, listen, I'll tell you what, there's one place I will never ever skimp, and that is on quality toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
My bottom will be wiped by the best. God, did I just say that? But I mean, toothpaste and all the other toiletries, apparently people are cutting back on these things because, well, things have to tighten up when there's not enough money. More insights on the economic environment come on Wednesday, that's tomorrow, with a release of June's Consumer Price Index. That measure is anticipated to show annual inflation slowed to 3.1, its lowest level since March of 2021. It's not 2% yet, but that's what they're shooting for. But it maybe get down to 3%. Certainly, things are still pretty expensive, and people are really now beginning to struggle because all of the stimulus, all the money, all the stuff, the easygoing that was out there, has now sort of lapsed. The strains that the consumer is under have been exacerbated over the last couple of months, said Morningstar's Aaron Lash. The reduction of food assistance programs, lower tax returns, using up extra savings, and stimulus funds have had an impact. Take Holly Ernst, the single mother of two daughters from Oak Park, Illinois, still facing rising costs, including a looming rent increase on her two-bedroom apartment. The 48-year-old recently stopped buying shaving cream. Soap will have to do. Traded down to the cheaper Colgate toothpaste instead of using the higher-priced Crest. She also cut out a luxury in her life known as Aveeno lotion. She says her family now moisturizes with Vaseline, which is cheaper. No lotion, go for the Vaseline. Cash doesn't stretch as far as it used to, she said. She's an event coordinator at a law firm. Even with her spending cuts, she had to use credit cards to make ends meet. I just accepted that's the way it is. I think that's where we are right now. The fast and easy money, when the stimulus money was flowing left and right, is over. And now people are getting to the point where, maybe their pay has gone up a little bit, maybe their work situation is a little bit better, but it hasn't kept up with the rate of inflation. And you remember one point it was like 9%. Oh my gosh. Personal hygiene products includes staples have taken a hit according to one study, which tracks purchases at U.S. retailers. Units sold of toothpaste, laundry detergent, toilet paper down around 3 to 4% in the 52 weeks through June 24th. So make sure some products are being used less. To be sure, some products are being used less at home as Americans return to work and travel. Let's not let this get out of hand, folks. Look, saving a penny or two is important. I get that, but you still got to have toothpaste. You still got to have deodorant.
Your fellow humans will thank you.
That's right. Your next-door neighbors, the people that you sit with at work, they're all going to appreciate you. Now, I can come to work and be as stinky as I want to.
I suppose you're right.
Nobody knows except me and the bulldog.
It's not smell-o-radio.
Right. It's not smell-o-vision. But meanwhile, there's more signs of stress to the consumer economy, with shoppers relying more on credit cards as excess savings dwindle. People are just saying, I'm going to buy less because it's gotten too expensive. Target Corporation undercuts department stores and specialty chains on price, but its transactions still sank 7.2% from April to June. Well, I think I know what that's about. There you have that. So that's happening right now. And now on the housing market, an interesting thing has happened. Home prices hit a record high in May, rising 0.7% nationally compared with April, according to Black Knight Home Price Index. Prices have been rising since January. When we went to these
What is...
I just happened to glance over at my phone because I saw the phone popped up a message. And then there's a message been sent from the home office.
Oh, yeah, I got that one
yeah.
too.
And I said, you got a copy of that too. I said, I can be as stinky as I want to. And she said, the Cabana wife wrote, no, you can't because you come home to me.
It's a valid point.
Very valid point.
Mm-hmm.
See, but when you're coming home, if you're prepared correctly, you can come to work in your bathing suit. Not saying that I'm wearing a bathing suit right now. I would never want you to have that image in your head.
Oh, boy.
But, before you get to the house, there's this nice, inviting swimming pool. Take a little dip, come right up the stairs, eat some dinner.
Cleans you right up.
Yeah, that's right. I'm ready for dinner. Okay, anyway, talking about home prices. Apparently, home prices have stabilized and maybe have even started to go up in some places. Interest rates, of course, when they started to go up dramatically, really threw cold water last year on the overheated housing market, but it didn't last long. Even with the rates still high, home prices are now gaining again, and the gains are accelerating with each new month. So interestingly enough, even though interest rates have gone, and everybody thought, well, for now, it looks like, well, even when I got in a year ago, I got in for about 5%. And I thought, well, not the best ever, but I better get now while I can because it's going to go higher. Well, it did. 5% became the normal. That was my interest rate. Then now 6% is now we're headed towards 7%, I'm told. But house prices are still holding their value in most places, in some places going up. By May, just over half of the nation's 50 largest housing markets, mostly in the Midwest and Northeast, had either returned to their prior price peaks or set new highs. So I don't have any specific information about the Nashville market, but one interesting thing is apparently a place where prices are not going up dramatically is Austin, Texas, which is often looked at as sort of our peer city. You say a lot of things in Austin and Nashville are very much alike, about the same size. The same kind of boom town mentality. Austin perhaps a bit more than Nashville these days, but one way or the other, apparently in Austin, Texas, inventory there continues to run above pre-pandemic levels, putting downward pressure on prices, which have fallen to 13.8% below peak. Whew. But that's not normally the case around the country. So tomorrow, look for the Consumer Price Index to come out. I know that seems like dull stuff, but it gives you an idea of where people are, where they live, what kind of challenges they are facing. When you talk about pocketbook issues, you're talking about kitchen table issues that impact everyone. And these numbers, while they seem sort of geeky to go through them in great detail, will tell us an awful lot about, are we coming out of this thing? How long will it be before interest rates might return to normal, or what we've become to accept as normal? And what about inflation? Will it be at 3.1%? Will it be at 2%? We'll watch and give you the information on that tomorrow with a great deal of detail after those numbers come out. It is 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk. Wellness Institute of Nashville, great place to go and get some help. You've heard me talk about the non-surgical spinal decompression. Can help you in so many different ways. You have arm, pain, leg, any kind of tingling in your extremities. Many times the non-surgical spinal decompression is the answer. And over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley Mitchell now offer something that's similar to that. First of its kind KT machine. It's like spinal decompression, but it's named after your knee. It elongates the knee and the joint and allows the meniscus and the cartilage to heal without the need for surgery or painkillers. Starts with a phone call, 615-246-5009. That's 615-246-5009. You take advantage of the 2023 special. Get an exam, a consultation, x-rays if needed. You can bring in an MRI if you want to. Dr. Kevin Mitchell will go over your condition, and your custom healing recovery plan will be discounted by 50%. So here's how you get started. Call this number, 615-246-5009. The first consult is only $23 and for new patients. That kind of discount unheard of in the medical field, but we're talking about the Wellness Institute of Nashville, which is exceptional. 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com. It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair as we are wrapping up the fourth hour of our big 4-hour extravaganza. I've been watching the monitor that I have here in my studio that monitors world events. As you know, our president is in Vilnius, Lithuania, for a big series of meetings on NATO, etc. And he apparently has ditched the dinner with world leaders that was supposed to take place tonight. Decides that he will not attend the dinner because he's too tired. Wow. Now, hold on a minute. That tells you something. And then they've been showing here on the monitor pictures of Joe Biden after an exhausting weekend on the beach in Rehoboth. And again, it's like you look at this guy. You remember that character that used to be on the Carol Burnett show? Tim Conway did the one of the oldest men in the earth, and move very, very slowly, sort of shuffle along. It's exactly what Joe Biden looks like trying to drag a very light beach chair across the sand. He was I don't know. I need to know more about this, but he was actually on the beach at Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, not far from his little beach house there, and was out there on the beach, and there are people all around him with umbrellas and coolers, and he and Jill and members of the family are out there, and you see him do two things and struggles to do so mightily. One is to take off his shirt, which we didn't need to see that anyway, but I mean it happened. But I mean, it's like he is like a turtle in a shell. He gets the thing over his head. It's like a knit shirt, a little golf shirt of some kind, and he pulls it about halfway, and he just seems to get stuck. He's just that weak. And then there's a little piece of video that shows him moving from one part of the beach to another, pulling back, I guess, as the waves got closer. I don't know what it was, but he's dragging one of those little canvas chairs. Little tiny canvas chair he's dragging to the new location. And Jill, she grabs one and hauls the thing across, and you see him like struggling mightily to get a chair across the sand. And now comes word that apparently after that exhausting beach vacation this last weekend, now we're into Tuesday, he's been traveling worldwide, and he's just too tired. See, I worry about those kind of things because when you hear things like the president is exhausted and he's going to skip out on a dinner, he's going to get more rest because he's tired, what does that tell you? It tells you got a president who's not up to the task of being president. And look, we all have our moments where we need our rest, and Lord knows I've gone through some stuff in the last few weeks that have knocked me nearly out. But I'm telling you, if I start to look like that, take away my microphone or something. I don't know, do something. Send me out back. But that's what's going on right now. Unbelievable. Joe Biden skipping out on a meeting with world leaders in order to catch up on his rest. Now, look, I think that also makes me a little suspicious. What's really going on? Is he really that tired? Is he really that exhausted? Is it jet lag? Did they build this in? I don't know, but one way or the other, there's some explanations when you can't make a dinner after an exhausting 2 days on the beach at Rehoboth. Anyway, I don't know. That's just the craziest thing ever. So there you have that. Okay, listen, coming up in the next half hour, we're going to have I love these, some fun stories that involve, among other things, a metal detector is one story. More information about how to get your 7-Eleven Slurpee. And what is the deal with rubber ducks being left on Jeeps? Have you heard about this new trend?
Oh, yeah.
Have you really? You've heard this?
I see them all the time.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know. How did this happen? I'm going to try to explain that for you. Right now at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. if you're in the market for a pole barn, the two brothers that run Stoltz Co. are the two guys you need to talk to. Exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices. They can build your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind. And so that's the thing that makes the Stoltz Co. a different place to deal business with. You can use pole barns for all kinds of things. Function as a classic tool or work barn, a garage, even a place to live. Flexibility is the key. They combine the classic post-frame barn look with the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't scrimp on quality. They don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. So, listen, go to the website. You really got to go to this website and take a look at it. It's stoltzco.com. 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 And tell them that your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson told you to call. They'll give you an estimate right over the phone, 615-622-5992. Stoltz Co., where quality workmanship and great customer service is affordable. 615-622-5992. Learn more, and you really got to look at these pole barns on the website, stoltzco.com. It's 38 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson for the next few minutes, and then we'll turn it over to Mark Levin, who will carry on through the evening. The great one, and he truly is a great one. I'm going to start with a fun story that has a good ending. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but I just love this story out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And it has to do with a Tennessee man who was about to get engaged. So he's at Myrtle Beach, where there is what? Beach. He's there with, I guess, his intended. He's got the ring in his pocket, and he goes out and he's going to wait. The classic move is wait till sunset there on the beach.
Oh, yeah.
You kneel down on one knee, you reach into your pocket, you bring out that ring, and you say, "Will you marry me?" And so, he apparently was, they've been here, they're in yawn on the beach, going from place to place, they stopped at different locations, and when he reached the final stop, is it getting close to the moment where he's ready to pull the ring out and ask the big question, he reaches into his pocket and the ring is gone. I know. Apparently, it fell out of his pocket, and they didn't know where exactly it fell out of his pocket. And so they were trying to figure out, well, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And apparently, somebody was standing by said, well, I'm a good Samaritan, and I have a metal detector. Let me go see if we can find this ring. So a good Samaritan who lived in the area found out what was happening, just grabbed a metal detector. It didn't take long, according to this report in Fox 17, to find the ring, thanks to the metal detector. And the ring was returned, according to the Myrtle Beach Police Department, was returned to the Tennessean couple, and he continued with the proposal. Unfortunately, the answer was no. Would that be the end of the day? Oh, honey, I'm so no.
I don't think so.
No, the answer was yes. The answer was yes. He got the answer he wanted, but boy, wouldn't that be just about? I've heard stories like this going overboard. You're on a boat. You're doing, because the deal now is you got to do something dramatic.
It's got to be memorable. It's got to be, video worthy.
Yeah, and so you got to come up with a solution. And so when you're trying to do something dramatic, you're probably going to go to an interesting locale.
Mm-hmm.
And you reach into the pocket and you go, uh-oh. Can you imagine that feeling?
No, I could not.
I can't imagine that as well.
But think about this, though. Now they have a tremendous story to tell about their engagement. So in hindsight, it probably made things better. More memorable.
I've always, having been married a number of times, I always talk about when I talk to people about, hey, I'm going to get married and, we're looking forward to this. I say, okay, here's the only thing I'm going to tell you is that when something will go wrong on your wedding day. Something will go wrong. And you know what? Don't get upset. Just remember, it's the thing you'll talk about for the rest of your life.
That's very true. Yeah.
With Cabana Wife and I, we were going to have a thing because the whole idea was we're going to the beach. We're not doing a big deal. We're just going to do it, very, very small. Just, me, her, and the officiant, because I figured I'd put my family through a number of these already. I didn't need to do it again. And Cabana Wife sort of felt the same way. But then it turned out as we were getting closer and closer, we're just going down to the beach house. We're going to do it there, and it turns out there was a hurricane coming.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to change, and so the big change that came was we moved it halfway across the country to the Paladero Canyon, and we were going to get married there. And so we're out on the ledge of a rock, and you look one way, you can see about 20 miles down the canyon one way, and you look the other. Paladero Canyon, fabulous canyon, by the way, not far from Amarillo. And you look down the other way, it's 30 miles. It's a beautiful vista. Mm. You're out on this big outcropping of a rock that it took you everything you could get there with a four-wheel drive vehicle to get you down there. And so I had given the responsibility of holding the ring to my new soon-to-be son-in-law, because Don had a son who's now, I think, is in his 40s. And so I said, can you just hold on to the ring for me? And so, seriously, I gave it to him because, I just felt like I didn't want to carry it. Got time. Hey, where's the ring? And there's this joke. He said, he look on his face like, at the top of the canyon. I said, oh, that's funny. That's hilarious. He said, no, really, I left it in the car. I forgot. Oh. So we had that was the story that, because we wanted to get married on 10/10/2020 and have it happen at 10:10 a.m. in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we got all hung up on numbers. It doesn't really matter, does it? But the bottom line is that's what we wanted. And there was a very hurried run to the top of the canyon and back in about 6 minutes. I don't know how they made it that quick. I'm not sure that the laws of physics were not violated, but got back with the ring and things went off. And timestamp on the final photo, 10/10/2020. By gosh,
there it is.
But that's the thing we talked about.
Yeah, that's what makes it memorable.
Did you ever have something? Did anything go wrong?
I can't really think of anything that went wrong on my wedding day, other than it being tremendously hot, and for September especially. And we had an outdoor reception, and it was miserable. because it was just so hot. No one wanted to be there. Everyone was ready to go.
Right.
But anyway, nothing major.
Where did you get married?
Oh, in Georgia, where I was from.
In what time of year?
September.
September. Well, you would expect it not to be too bad.
You would, but it was like 96.
Yeah, that's not good.
It was rough.
That's not good.
Yeah.
So tell me about this. Drivers who have, if you have a Jeep, the whole Jeep Nation thing is really becoming quite the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, many drivers are finding when they return to their Jeep in the parking lot, other people who have Jeeps who have admired the Jeep that the other person has are leaving little rubber ducks on the Jeeps.
Yep.
You've been ducked. A tag dangled off of it bearing a message. If the duck brought him a smile, snap a picture and post about it. So this is happening and happening and happening and happening. And now apparently Jeep owners have made a thing of putting a rubber duck. We don't have any rubber duck sound effects, would we?
That's the best I got.
Rubber ducky, you're so fine. And I'm happy that you're mine. Few drivers are as tribal as Jeep owners. They pass each other on the road, and you're supposed to wave. It's called the Jeep wave.
Jeep wave. Yeah.
Jeep people have been taking to leaving rubber ducks on the door handles of other Jeeps. And that this has become a thing. I had a Jeep one time. It's a pretty good car. It's a long time ago before what they are now. Now it's you get a low end Jeep and then you customize it, you bling it out.
Oh, yeah.
And there's all kinds of bling that you can add to your Jeep to make it just exactly like you want. And there's some pretty sharp looking Jeeps out there, I'd have to say. But anyway, the rubber ducky thing apparently is a thing now.
Yep,
so
I see them all the time. I pass Jeeps and you can see they all have a row of rubber ducks on their dash. Yeah.
What a thing!
It's where people have left them, have ducked them.
How in the world did this start as a trend? I mean, this is how did it all get started? Is the thing you wonder about.
I saw a story, and actually I pulled it up just a moment ago because I was interested to find out. I did not know, but apparently it is credited to a woman in Ontario, up in Canada, this was during COVID, back during 2020, and she had just returned from Alabama where she did some work. And she had to quarantine for 2 weeks during that whole COVID fiasco. And she got tested and was clear and went out and then was approached by a stranger who, according to her report, grabbed her by the shoulders and pushed her back into her vehicle and swore at her and said she wasn't welcome in Canada because of her Alabama license plate. So she, instead of getting upset, she thought she would do something fun to make herself feel better. So she went and bought a little rubber duck and left it with a note on someone's Jeep that they saw in the car park. And that was kind of how it started. It was just an innocent thing, and it had a little note on it, I guess, and it was reposted on social media, and it just kind of gained traction that way. I don't know if that's true or not, but it would make sense, I guess. So there's really no meaning behind it. It was just kind of a fun little thing to do.
It's sort of a non sequitur when you think Jeep ducks. I don't know.
Yeah. Very strange.
All right, I'm going to see if I can speed through this story here in the next few moments. Has to do with the actuarial tables and how old you're expected to live if you're a certain age. And so I'll just see if I can get through this because we're trying to figure out, what is the likelihood that Joe Biden will make it through this election and beyond. According to the Social Security Administration, they have something called the Cohort Life Expectancy Table. A male born in 1942 had an expectancy to live to the age of 71.1 years. Of course, males today have a much longer life expectancy. If you're born today, you have a life expectancy with modern medicine of 82.3 years. I got 82. I'd be happy.
Yeah,
the longer a person lives, though, the longer he or she is expected to survive. So, for example, Social Security Administration estimates that a male born in 1942 who has reached the age of 65 can, on average, expect to live another 12.8 years, which for Biden would take him to the age of 84, which means about the middle of his second term. And then Kamala. They talked to an expert and said an 80-year-old male like Biden has a 31.35% chance of dying over the next 5 years. And they say, given some of the medical concerns that he has, you could easily bump that up to 50% in Biden's case. Given those factors, here's the summation. It might be reasonable to bump Biden's 31.35% chance of dying in office to perhaps 50% because of his pre-existing medical conditions. Thus, it is highly possible, perhaps even probable, that a Biden re-election victory would result in Kamala Harris becoming the first female president. Makes me wonder, why are Democrats going down this pathway? How in what mind do they think that's the great outcome for the country? And given the fact that we have a president now that is so tired and weak that he can't even make it to a dinner with world leaders at a NATO conference, it's something to think about. Something to think about. 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Grace Point Healthcare delivers medicine affordably with a menu-style transparent pricing. You'll know how much things are cost before the care is delivered. What a concept. Smart Care plans, they're known for their Smart Care plans. It's really something you should investigate. For just $69 a month, you get unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. They treat the entire family, even newborns, and they offer family plans as well. Now, if you marry that with the high deductible insurance plan that you may already have, it could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms. They treat naturally whatever possible. It is a military vet-owned practice. Some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider by Toast of Music City year after year after year. Seasonal allergies, they treat them and test for them so you can get back on your feet and enjoy the great outdoors instead of being inside. Grace Point Healthcare, Main Street in Franklin. Here's the number, 599-6868. That's 599-6868 to schedule a visit.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. Two big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.